Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
This one's special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100%. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there. That's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right. How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
We're both got glasses on there. I wanted to start off the show with, I got a message yesterday from a Longhorn fan.
Really? Okay.
He goes, hey, if I could guarantee you 9-3 right now, would you take it? My answer was like, abso-freaking-lutely not.
I don't know.
I mean, are other records still possible below 9-3? Yes, I know that. But right now, Texas A&M is in the driver's seat. If they take care of their business, they will be in the playoffs. If they take care of their business, winning every game that they're favored, they control their destiny, which means they could be in Atlanta and they could be a playoff team, and both things can absolutely happen. So I would not take 9-3 right now.
No. There's every reason to believe you could be 11-1. In fact, why would you accept two losses? Who are the two losses you're going to accept? To LSU and Texas? Well, I would never. Those are your
two home games.
I would never just accept losses at home to no. That's. I'm sure it was asked in good faith, right?
Yeah. I think he was more asking in terms of like, you still don't know what's going to happen down the road at South Carolina, Auburn, and obviously the Texas and LSU game this weekend. Would you take it? And to me, it's a simple answer, no. Now, would I be happy at the end of the year with a 9-3 season? I guess I'd have to see how that 9-3 happened here. But we know this much. We know that they're 6-1 right now.
Yeah.
So the information has evolved.
That's to me. Do you remember the old TV show Let's Make a Deal?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you've won the lazy boy recliner.
Right.
Would you be happy? We'll give you the lazy boy recliner.
Right.
Or would you rather go for what's the big deal? I'm saying I'm going for the big deal. The lazy boy recliner is nice, but I want the big deal.
Right.
So yes, let's go for the big deal.
And guess what? This ain't a game show. We get to find out in real time. We get to see as things play out. So
this ain't no Monty Hall.
And by the way, at the end of the year, if they go 9-3, win a bowl game,
you get the lazy boy.
You get the lazy boy, and you probably get a cool bowl game. That's great. Then, right now,
no.
I want the whole darn thing.
The whole thing.
And you know what I want?
What?
Because if we're allowed to dream, when I say the whole thing, that doesn't mean the SEC.
No.
That means every freaking thing.
Everything.
Everything. Okay, making sure you got that.
Every damn thing.
I don't know if we're allowed to say damn on the air.
Really? I guess I'm going to get my ass chewed over that.
I don't think we can say that either.
Oh.
TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan.
I am.
I'm David Nuño.
He is.
And we got a cast of characters to get into. I wanted to read some other things. So Texas A&M's FBI rating.
The FBI?
The FBI is after A&M. Yeah.
I was fixed.
For being awesome. And according to the ESPN Football Power Index, A&M dropped to number 14 after defeating Mississippi State with a 15.7 FBI rating. I don't care, by the way.
I don't care either.
Just a talking point.
But I know that I get it because you only beat them by 10 points.
Wait, Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia beat them by 10 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure about that.
Of course, Georgia was at home and A&M was on the road, and every game that the freshman quarterback played.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, wait, hold on. I think, carry the 2 -7 Pythagorean theorem. I think they're undefeated in SEC play. I might be wrong.
They are.
Okay. So,
okay.
It also says the Aggies are projected to win 9.1 games.
9.1.
And have a 1.7 chance of winning out.
Well, okay. I've never, bought into all those things. So I will be willing to just wait and see what Elko and Wigman and Scorton and Turner and Shamars and all those guys have to say about it.
Can I make a request to the Aggie public?
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, I know sometimes you say it as a defense mechanism. Been around a couple Aggies recently. They're like, I know we're going to mess it up at some point. And, I mean, guys, like right now is not the time. You got the biggest game at Kyle Field in some time. You got a chance. You're in mathematically, and more than mathematically, you control your destiny to go to the playoffs in the SEC championship game. As of right now, if you win out, you will be in Atlanta.
You've got 11, and the dealer is showing us 6, man. Double down.
Look, and that's not to say I'm predicting to go undefeated the rest. I'm not saying I am a week-to-week, I'm a minute-by-minute kind of guy. I can go in the same game, think we're going to lose by 30 and win by 30 within 44 seconds.
Yeah, right. You're like the Doobie Brothers, minute by minute.
Minute by minute. And there's another joke there. But the bottom line is, guys, let's not be that way. Let's enjoy what's happening.
Enjoy. Expect more from your team.
Want it. Need it. Yearn for it.
All right. Sounds like the story of my life.
By the way, I'm here about reading headlines today. Okay.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Headline news here from, I'm not Ted Turner. CBS Sports has A&M in the playoffs, potentially scoring off against?
I don't know.
Texas.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
really?
gosh. They love to do that. It's always Texas. Oh, man.
Oh.
CBS believes that the two will square off twice this season after not facing off since 2011. I mean, come on.
I wouldn't put it past.
I think I had it as a 5-11 seed.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past somebody, to gerrymander things like they always do.
It's convenient that it's always.
I like to play different teams. I do.
I do too.
Yeah, but okay.
I mean,
but if they put them out there, just go beat them a second time.
Yeah. But the bottom line is, take care of it. Business this weekend against LSU.
That's all I care about.
And I talk myself in and out of what I believe is possible, right? Like, the minute-by-minute thing we talked about a moment ago. Is LSU that improved? Apparently, they're 30th in the country at stopping the run. Huh.
I was just watching, before the show, I went back and I was watching their game against Ole Miss.
Yep.
I thought Ole Miss could run on them.
And they didn't.
Consistently, and they would. They had like a 50-yard touchdown run. They would get away from it. In fact, I thought, we've talked about this before, I thought poor decisions by Lane Kiffin prevented them from winning that game and putting it away early. But okay, they're getting better. All right. It's not supposed to be easy.
The one thing there's a couple things I worry about, but something that I'm monitoring is LSU doesn't run the ball well. They certainly pass the ball well.
Yeah.
And I think A&M does well against the pass, except the propensity for the big plays.
Yeah, and that just won't go away. They keep giving up the big plays. And look, here, bottom line, they are going to have to cover better than they have, because this is probably the best passing game they're going to face. Missouri they probably don't have a guy as good as Luther Burden.
Yep.
But if you put the top, say, 8 receivers on and ranked them 1 through 8 between Missouri and LSU, you're going to go Burden 1, and then the next 3 maybe LSU before you get to Weiss, and then the next ones after that are LSU.
Right. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up. You can text us. The phone number to get on TexAgs Live is 979-693-1150. If you call it, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. You can also text that number on the Little Sluggers text line, 979-693-1150. Let me tell you a little bit about Little Sluggers. They are age-appropriate baseball fundamental classes in Aggieland, Houston, Austin, and Brenham. For kids 2 to 8, sign up for a free trial at cotosports.com. That is COTO Sports.com. We go behind the glass. We say hi to our friend, Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What's up?
Well, to me, watching Garrett Nussmeier play in that LSU offense, obviously they got the ability to score, they got the ability to hit the big play, but I feel like, I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but they seem a little inconsistent at times. So I feel like if A&M can capitalize on, the inconsistencies maybe in their offensive play, I think A&M will be in a good spot come Saturday.
So the inconsistencies of LSU's play, OB, I think A&M has been inconsistent at times as well.
They have. And
that's life in college football this year.
It's like the like you just said, the big plays. But I think since really the Florida game, because I don't even take you did what you're supposed to against McNeese. A&M's been a pretty consistent running team. Look, if you don't have 2 holding penalties, that I'm not saying they weren't holding to some degree, but when I see all the holding that goes on and players and it never gets called in the SEC, I'm like, what are we doing here? But anyway, without 2 holding penalties, Le'Veon Moss rushes for 150 yards last week.
Yeah, and they win by 17, 24 points. They do.
They should have anyway.
But they didn't. So this is where they are. And by the way, the Arkansas game, if you want to kind of look at through it, that game, defense was pretty consistent other than the first play, right? Pretty consistent defense. Offensively, the game plan from Arkansas was stack the box, make Marcel Reed throw, and he didn't find his rhythm until the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Again, last week, we were talking about consistency. A&M's defense has not given up more than 24 points in a game all year.
Yeah.
And that was after they gave up 24, but 7 of those were after a turnover deep in your own territory. You can't put that against the defense. So I think the defense, at the bottom line, has been very consistent.
By the way, we're in the holistic planning cool zone. I don't feel very cool. I feel like we need to turn on the air conditioning, but this is a cool area to be in.
Yeah, this is where the cool guys hang out.
By the way, go to check out investinprosports.com today if you are interested in acquiring ownership stakes in a professional football team or any kind of, the NFL became the latest of the big 4 North American sports league to allow private equity firms to acquire ownership stakes. You don't have to be a rich man. You just check it out at investinprosports.com today. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We're going to be at the Angry Elephant on Friday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m.
First I've heard of it.
Well, you should listen to the show more often. It's a good show. I really like the first hour of the show.
So I guess I won't be wearing shorts then.
Why not? People love when you do the short shorts.
Yeah, they were ragging, but I always say, sex sells.
Michael Early will be one of our guests at the Angry Elephant. Sorry for following it up with that. Heck of a segue. Yeah, Michael Early will be early on the show at 9 a.m. I think Bronny and Lucha are going to handle that, so I can hang out with a bunch of the folks there at the Angry Elephant. So come on out, join us in the South College Station location. Cooper Patterson making his debut here at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. What's up, buddy?
I'm just a little shocked by what OB just said. Feeling a little nervous, so don't rip me in the comments, but I'm really excited.
No, don't be nervous. Your dad's been in broadcasting. He's talked to you. This is in your blood, buddy.
It is.
So give us a little background. How'd you end up at TexAgs?
So I've been watching the content for a while now. I love the show back when it was TexAgs Radio, and I just was like, I want to work in sports media. I do sports management as my major, and kind of realized when I do sports media, my dad, as David just said, is a pastor, and he did a radio show, a faith-based radio station, and I just got to see that side of sports media, and I just absolutely fell in love with it.
I'm going to brag about him. You can probably brag on him as well. Luke Evangelist came back raving after your trip there in Alabama for SEC Media Days because he helped get those prep sheets ready for you guys. He came to me personally, just so you know, to say, Cooper's, dominating. So good work there,
I
buddy.
referred to them.
Was that?
I referred to them.
Yep. Let's get some news, shall we?
Yeah. How about some Aggie tennis? J.C. Roddick loses in the semifinals to Texas's Jonah Braswell in the ITA Texas Regional. It's unfortunate news for Aggie tennis, but J.C. gets the opportunity to play for third place on Thursday. It was an incredible run for J.C., making it to the semifinals by beating his own teammate, the Italian Giulio Perego.
Good stuff. Hopefully he bounces back. What's next for tennis? Does it have what their next tournament is?
I didn't catch that.
Okay, we'll get that later on in the show. What else do you have for us?
Softball. They have their first matchup against Temple College tonight at 6 p.m. at Davis Diamond. Sorry, not first matchup. One of their first few. And this is Coach Ford and the Aggies' last exhibition before the Maroon and White series that kicks off on Thursday.
Did you pay attention to what happened Friday across the street? They took it to Texas.
It's like 12-6.
Yeah, they took it to Texas. Trisha Ford's awesome. Give us a text message and then we'll move on.
Yeah, one I got was Chase from Houston. He said, "I said this a week or so ago, but what did the baseball team teach us this summer? Aggie sports are breaking through now, so be prepared for it to finally happen in football."
Chase, we miss you in studio on the fan show. Yeah, I agree. I think a couple years ago under Schloss, I remember like Aggie baseball kind of restored my faith that good things are coming. Took a couple years to get them to the College World Series finals. Now basketball breaking through, hopefully on both men's and women's side. All these sports. We got Aggie women and tennis team with Coach Weaver and Corton with golf, Garrett Chadwell with golf. Like we got a lot of good things happening. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the football team, by the way, do they control their own destiny?
Yeah. Hey, I wonder, did you ask the Texas guy if he would accept 9-3 right now?
No, I did not ask him that. I just like, no, bro, my mind's not there. But their schedule, sorry guys, I don't see 2 more losses. I see 1 more loss. I don't see 2 more losses. Do you?
You got to go to Vanderbilt this week.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said that, but
Clark
Lee, they're not a bad team. They're at home after an open date, and you got to get over the hangover of that loss. You might have been exposed a little bit. I would say this is, and I realize they played Michigan. Is Vanderbilt the second best team they will have faced?
Probably. Would you take Vanderbilt or Michigan in a game? I'd take Vandy right now.
Right now, I think I'd take Vandy.
Yeah.
Really, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think I would.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat Alabama.
I still think
it wasn't a fluke.
I think Texas is still like a national playoff contender power. Like I still think that. But all the things we said leading up to it that people got in my mentions and your mentions about the schedule, they hadn't been tested. Look, anybody who faces Georgia is going to be tested. But I still maybe Georgia's turned the corner. That Texas game, maybe it's the game that they turned the corner. But before that Texas game, they left a lot to be desired.
Well, what they did was they passed 6 open book tests.
Yeah.
And then they had the one where they couldn't refer to the open book.
They weren't ready.
And they did it at home, and they got punked.
They got punked. Hey, let's listen to one soundbite. I was going to have 2 here, but we're running out of time.
I'm sorry.
Let's listen to, no, it's good. I like when we chit-chat. Let's listen to Coach Elko yesterday, because I asked him, there's a lot of noise around A&M right now. Not as much noise as there will be if they beat LSU, but there's good stuff. People are predicted, hey, they may make the playoffs. They are going to be in the playoffs. I expect them to be, this game against LSU. Everybody's watching. How do you police that in your locker room to not let the moment get bigger? Here's Coach Elko yesterday.
Conversation is the best you can do. I told them this, we're trying to process for ourselves. We're in a really good spot. We're in a really good opportunity. We want to take advantage of where we are. A lot of times you see on the rise up, you have to learn through failure. We're trying to not do that, right? And so I think that's got their attention, right? Like teach me how to get through this and navigate this the right way so that we don't have to go, oh, okay, well, this is, and then come back, and then come back, right? We don't want to be that program. We want to be the program that hits it when we have our opportunity. And so I just think it's constant conversation about, where success comes from. We spend so much time talking about, where success comes from. You can spend this whole week thinking about the play you're going to make, the celebration, what you're going to look like in the or you can spend the whole week focusing on all of the things that are going to help you have success on Saturday. And it's just kind of trying to shift their eyes every single day in that lane and stay there as long as humanly possible with the strong knowledge that they're 18 to 23. And it's an ongoing process for us.
My favorite part of that bite is you can spend all week planning your celebration, planning what the play could look like, or you can plan all week on the execution part of it. I love that, because that is true. Sometimes we get carried away at the end result, as opposed what the end result could look like, as opposed to what's going to get you to that end result.
And if that isn't just Elko, just
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, there. Thank you.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, Elko.
Yeah, it's good. We'll come back. We're going to do our players of the week, our performers of the week, I should say, right now. PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. use the code TexAgs. I'm telling you, you guys need to do this. You'll receive your $50 guaranteed dollars once you play in $5 lineups, 2 to 6 player stat projections. Here's a couple of reasons why you should do it. A, you're going to make some money. Money. You're going to make some money. The other reason is it makes games more fun. I know games are already fun, but games you don't even care about. I don't care if Travis Hunter has 150 yards. I hope he has 10 yards. Then you could put your money where your mouth is or where your fingers are for the app, right? I mean, you can make some money doing this, make the games a lot more exciting, and you should do it with TexAgs. PrizePicks.com/TexAgs. Use the code TexAgs to receive those $50 guaranteed dollars once you play in $5 lineups. It is PrizePicks.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
We are back on TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon U is your ultimate stop for brand name apparel, gifts, and accessories for the entire family. Check out CC Creations and, of course, our friends at The Warehouse. All right, Obi, let's do the performance of the week. Let's clap our hands.
Yeah.
Make it a little warm, a little Mr. Miyagi style.
Yeah. Mississippi State, they came in there with plans to pull off an upset. They might have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling A&M kids, especially Scooby. He was a dog in that game.
I liked what you did there. Did you catch the joke? Did you catch it? You did? Are you just smiling just to say yes because you're not sure? All right.
I watched a lot of Scooby.
The Mystery Machine?
I did. There was no mystery.
I bet you drove a van like that. Sorry, that was wrong. Sorry.
But there was no mystery with Scooby. The guys went out there, what did he have, 6 tackles? 2 of them for loss, an interception. He broke up a pass, which was a significant play. And then the last gasp, I guess you would say, of Mississippi State to maybe pull it out. The last gasp.
Yeah.
They're going for it on what? 4th and 1 at midfield, trying to stay in the game. And just going to run in to get the first down and keep the drive going. But no. Scooby stepped up, bam, makes the tackle, pushes the guy 5 yards deep, game essentially over. I was impressed by what Scooby did.
Well, apparently it's going to be, I don't know if it's people keep tweeting about making sure we all wear black to the game.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Is this the last game before Halloween?
Yes, it is.
At home, at least?
Yes.
Maybe some people need to dress
as Scooby. It's the last game before Halloween. Yeah. Oh, I can guarantee you there's going to be. You know what? I want to see, it's such a big game. I want to see Johnny Manziel show up dressed as Scooby. Bring back the old Scooby costume, Johnny. It worked for you 12 years ago.
If he did that, this clip is going viral. I'm just telling you. Among some of the other things you've said today, there's going to be a lot of clips that go viral.
It's LSU week, What am I going to say?
What else? Let's do another one. Shall we do another one?
Sure. Who do you got?
I mean,
I know who you're going to say.
Who do you think I'm going to say?
Jabri Barber.
You have to say Jabri Barber.
Man, he scalped him.
He was phenomenal, and 92 yards, 6 receptions. Didn't catch a lot in the second half, but he just made plays, man.
Didn't he just come this close to another big play that would have been a long touchdown? And so many. I think 4 of his first 5 catches were on 3rd down to pick up first downs. I mean, he was. We heard before he got hurt last spring that this is a guy that's really going to make an impact. And he, brought him along slowly. And he's been good, but that might have been a breakout game to show what he's going to be the rest of the year.
2 transfers.
2 transfers.
And we've had a lot of transfers that we've done performance of the week. I'm assuming, I don't remember the list.
They transformed the program.
Do you think Nick Scorton has been on the performance of the week at some point?
Yes, he has. Okay. Nick Scorton. Probably Will Lee, too.
Yeah. Do you think, Will Lee?
Yeah.
So, Scooby, Jabri.
And if it wasn't for...
Cyrus Allen had that big play against Florida.
Again, and if it wasn't for offensive linemen just being overshadowed because why, I'd probably have Armaj Reed Adams and Coley.
Yeah. So, the transfer portal has been good to Texas A&M. And if you look at all those guys, okay, in the limited conversations I've had with them, but I've had a few with Jabri, with Armaj, like you talk about these guys, Will Lee, all very level-headed, cool guys. I'm not saying that, everybody at A&M has to get this, but I think you have to fit the culture, you have to fit the vibe, you have to have the mission and stay to that. And all indications are these are those kind of guys.
Marcus Ratliff continues
to lead
the team in interceptions. And I remember Des Riggs had a big interception against Arkansas. Cassius Howell. And Howell. In fact, he
Jason
played so well that he was named by the coaches co-defensive lineman of the week. In the going into the transfer portal, we've talked about it before, but Elko and his staff, I think they might be batting 1,000.
Yeah.
I guess it'd be hard. So somebody would be able to figure this out that covers it all the time. But if you went and did a mid-season report on teams, what they did in the transfer portal, and see who was most successful in the transfer portal, I would venture to guess it'd be A&M by a wide margin.
Yeah. Look, the guys are all contributing. I wouldn't say any are having splashy numbers that if you don't watch the games, you might overlook some of these names. I think Will Lee made some headlines because of what happened with Missouri.
And Scorton.
Right, and Scorton for sure. But I don't need headlines. I need wins.
I need guys that just play good football.
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting. A lot of guys, like you said, level-headed guys. They didn't I was asking Scooby yesterday, what did you envision? What coming to A&M, why did you think y'all be good? And he said, hey, guys were selling me on it. I was looking and seeing what they had and looked like a good situation.
What does Scooby like to eat?
Scooby snacks.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know where I would want to eat the most? You know where I want to trade in my Scooby snacks for?
What was that?
How about some barbecue?
But
more specific.
Let's go specific. Yeah.
Some 1775 barbecue. Now that's what Scooby wants to snack on. He wants to snack on those ribs that I like so much, and that brisket, and that sausage, and of course.
I don't know whatever nefarious activities that Shaggy was into, but I know that he would get the munchies at night.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Maybe he just had a long day of cardio. Maybe, right?
Maybe.
Like that's why he was so skinny.
Maybe he needed to carb up for the next day and get some of that queso mac and cheese.
But yeah, if he's going to snack on some leftovers, he would probably want to snack on.
I know Irma did. She wanted to snack on the leftovers that I brought home that I was planning to eat for myself. And then she was saying this is like 4 or 5 hours in the refrigerator, and she was raving on how great it was.
Yeah, I've taken out some food from 1775 cold, and I don't eat cold food typically. I ate it cold. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic, yeah.
Open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m., 8203 Raymond Stouser Parkway in College Station. Call them up, 979-492-6241. The website, 1775txbbq.com. Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. It is TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Got a lot of NFL stuff to get into, Mike Evans stuff to get into, obviously some A&M stuff to get into with our next guest. We're going to go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Boss Firearms, Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. And with that, we talked to Charean Williams here from Pro Football Talk and, of course, the Aggie Hall of Famer. Charean, good morning.
Good morning. How are we doing today?
We're doing pretty well. I mean, considering our football team has won 6 in a row, they've got they control their destiny for the playoffs and the SEC championship game. A lot of work still has to be done, but a huge battle this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big game, blackout game. So I've got to go buy a black shirt because I don't have a black Aggie shirt. So I've got to get that done today or this week. That's on my checklist. But looking forward to this game. It's going to be exciting, and the next 2 games obviously are really big for A&M to try to get out of that with 2 wins. It's going to be difficult, but they can do it. And I want to say one thing that I want to point out. Like, they did not play. I did not enjoy the game on Saturday. They didn't play real well, but that's a game that under Jimbo they would have lost. There's no question about that. And here's the difference. Last year, that Alabama game, I'm sitting in the stadium, and A&M's up at halftime, and I said, here's the problem. Alabama's going to go in that locker room, and they're going to make adjustments, and A&M is not. And Alabama's going to come out of the locker room, and they're going to win the game because they've made adjustments. It's exactly how it played out. This year, Mississippi State, we did not play well. We're up at halftime, didn't play well. Defense particularly didn't play well. And I said in my living room, the Aggies are going to go in that locker room and make adjustments. I don't know what adjustments Mississippi State's going to make, but I do know the Aggies are going to make adjustments. And they're going to come out, and they're going to play really well defensively. That's the difference this program has taken in 1 year. And it's a huge difference between last year and this year, just that one difference. They make adjustments at halftime that make them better in the second half. And they're going to continue to make adjustments this entire year. Their best game is going to be the Texas game, and then their best game after that is going to be a playoff game, which hopefully is a playoff game and not just a bowl game.
All those things I agree with. The adjustments were just impressive. They had 100 yards rushing, Mississippi State in the first half. They had 25 in the second half. So to Charean's point, of astute, as we would expect from a Hall of Famer. What I want to know, though, from the Hall of Famer, what's it like on an LSU A&M weekend in Orange, Texas, when you're growing up right there on the border, right there on the Sabine?
There were a lot of LSU fans for sure. You know, the teams didn't play. They weren't in the same conference, so it really wasn't a rivalry, but there were a lot of LSU fans for sure growing up in Beaumont. No question about that.
Well, it used to start the season, right? One of my first game I ever covered for the Eagle was A&M against LSU in the season opener.
Oh, yeah?
A&M spanked them, of course. In fact, A&M spanked them so often that LSU canceled the series after the 94 loss. They said, no, we don't want to do this anymore. So I was just wondering if if in her hometown where she's from, which obviously hometown, if it didn't get if the loyalties weren't divided down there.
Charean, considering where we are in college football right now, right? Considering what happened with Texas and Georgia, considering that A&M and LSU are up top and have a chance to be in Atlanta, whoever wins this game will be in pole position, all the things that are, can you envision a better start to the Mike Elko era here as we get closer to November? And yeah, I know they could have won the Notre Dame game, but just the vibes around the program, considering where the vibes have been for the last few years.
Oh, no question. I mean, you see how far it's taken it, and kudos to the decision makers who made that difficult decision based on the money to get rid of Jimbo and pay him off and bring in Mike Elko, which, the fans were happy with that. That wasn't an easy decision for them to go get Mike Elko. I mean, there was some pressure, I'm sure, to go get a bigger name coach, but he was the perfect coach for the program, and I knew that. I mean, he was my number one choice to start. So I'm happy they did that, and he's obviously the right coach for the program. And here's the other thing: if you've gotten anybody else, maybe they're enticed to go somewhere else. They have a good season or 2 seasons or 3 seasons, and someone comes after. We have no fear of Mike Elko ever going anywhere else. He will be our head coach as long as we want him to be our head coach, and I think that's going to be a really long time. I think this is his final destination, and I think this is going to be the Saban of A&M. He's going to be here long term, and he's going to win long term, and that's the exciting thing to me. And you pointed out about the Texas Austin, where the state of college football. This is NIL that's really turning this into chaos, which is great for college football. It's exciting. Everybody has a chance, and then with the 12-team playoff on top of that. So between the 12-team playoff and the NIL, this is what people wanted college football to be. You can lose a game, you can lose 2 games and still be in it. It never used to be like that. So this is the most exciting college football season we've ever seen.
Yeah, I've heard people say, well, by this playoff, it's going to lessen the importance, the value of the regular season. No, it increases, it heightens it because you're still in it with a loss or 2. Charean, what does A&M have to do, in your expert opinion, to win this game?
Well, they can't have the turnovers that they had at Mississippi State. Connor's got to be better, and the defense is going to do what the defense does. I have no qualms about that. I just think the defense is going to keep you in the game, and then it's up to the offense of how many points they can score. Can they outscore LSU? What's going to be a relatively, I would think, low-scoring game, 24-20, 27-24, somewhere in there. I don't think a team gets to 30. If you get to 30, I think you're going to win the game. But, I think they've got to be perfect in not turning the ball over and then in trying to get some turnovers and some big plays on defense or special teams. Proud of the special teams, by the way. That's the first time I can say that in a really long time. They were ready for that fake punt and played really well on special teams. So if we get a big special teams play, which we haven't had this year, that would be helpful as well. But I think it's just Connor and the offense not turning over the football because the defense is going to keep you in the game.
Charean, let's talk a little bit about Mike Evans. Obviously got the touchdown yesterday, historic moment for him, but also had to lead the game. Just some thoughts on Mike's career that we've talked about. I feel like every week he's got a new thing we're talking about, but also his impact on that Buccaneers team.
Yeah, it's been a huge impact. I'm a Hall of Fame voter, and I wrote this last night. Like, you wouldn't necessarily – he doesn't have the full resume that a Hall of Fame player has in the fact that what you look for are all pros in all decades, and that's pretty much makes you a lock. Mike Evans has never been all pro. He's never been all decade, yet I think he's a lock. One of the rare players I think is a lock for the Hall of Fame, despite not having some of the things that you look for in a Hall of Fame player. Only 5 Pro Bowls. That's another thing you look for. You don't necessarily look for guys who have a ton of Pro Bowls because everybody has a Pro Bowl. But when you only have 5 Pro Bowls in a career, that's kind of, why does he only have 5 Pro Bowls? But then you think about the records that he set. Only 11 players have 100 receiving touchdowns in history. He's done it faster than all but the likes of Jerry Rice and Randy Moss and those types of guys. There's only 4 or 5 ahead of him on that. He's the only active player who's done that. The 1,000-yard seasons to start his career, every single one. Now, he's going to be hard-pressed to do it this year, but the 1,000-yard seasons to start his career are a record. So that, to me, is what makes him a lock, is the career touchdowns and the consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He's been so consistent. Having said all that, I think he's still one of the most underrated, underappreciated players in the NFL for what he's done, and I do think he's headed for the NFL.
Well, when you look at some of the guys who, over the course of his career, that were throwing him the football, it's not like he had the luxury of Joe Montana or Steve Young throwing him the ball through the majority of his career.
Charean,
he didn't have Brady for long.
Let's get into some Aggies in the NFL beyond Mike Evans, who obviously is always going to be on the list, especially every time he plays on a Sunday or a Monday. Who are some others you want to get into?
Yeah, well, we are going to give a honorable mention shout. It wasn't a real great week, to be honest, weekend. But Braden Mann, shout out to Braden Mann. He had 8 punts total, 2 inside the 20, a 52.4-yard average. So he's having a really good year for the Eagles. Number 3, Ryan McCollum made his first start for the Steelers at center. The Steelers had 2 Aggie offensive linemen along with Dan Moore. So big night for them, big win for them on Sunday Night Football. The Steelers got it done, and a lot of that responsibility was 2 Aggies in the offensive line. So shout out to Ryan McCollum on the Steelers practice squad for 2 years and didn't play, but got his first start and played really well. Devon Achane, the Dolphins didn't win, but it wasn't for lack of trying by Devon. 15 carries, 77 yards, and 2 catches for 8 yards. He's back from his concussion and played awfully well. And once they get Tua back in the lineup this week, I think you're going to see more of him on the field and more doing big things. And the obvious one is Mike Evans, 100th career receiving touchdown, only the 11th player ever to do that in NFL history, the only active player to do that, 101 total touchdowns in his career. Now, I'll say this, he shouldn't have been playing. That hamstring may be torn. He's getting an MRI today, and he may be out a while. So he paid a heavy, heavy price for being in that game, and they play the Falcons this week in a huge game, and Chris Godwin, who definitely should not have been in the game late, 41 seconds to play, is out for the year with a dislocated ankle. So tough breaks all around for the Bucs. We'll see how long Mike Evans is going to be out. Prayers up for him, and I hope it was a minor hamstring tweak and not a tear.
That is the great Charean Williams here on from Pro Football Talk on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Charean, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. All right, OB, when we come back, I got a question that was tweeted at me that I'm going to ask you. Just get your thoughts on it as well. Right now, we're talking about Bird Dog. Go check out birddog.com and find out all about these awesome hunting opportunities that they create. The beauty about Bird Dog is they will find you the great hunting opportunities if you're into hunting, if you're trying to get into it, if you're already an established hunter, if you're a rancher and you want people to come to your land and hunt, hook up with Bird Dog. They're an Airbnb for hunting, and the TexAgs Wing Shoot, people are signing up for it November the 6th through the 8th. So if you're wondering, why November 6th through the 8th? It's the second bye week, or the second open week, as I should say, in Brady, Texas. You can purchase tickets. I will be there. It'll be my first official hunt. I've been practicing my shooting with Hunter Shirtliff. He's taking care of me. I'm going to be ready to roll, bro. Like I was hitting some of those clays. Like you would have been proud of me, OB.
Sure, I would.
I got to get better. I think I got lucky more than I was good, to be honest with you. But that being said, he's getting me ready. You can come out with me for my first ever hunt. Chris Harrington's going to be there, and also Roger Krager's going to be hanging out with us, performing for us. All you can eat, all you can drink. What you need to do is go to birddogit.com/TXAGS hunt, or just go to birddogit.com. You can find the information on there. It is going to be awesome. You'll want to go there. Brady, Texas, 2-night upland shoot. You will have a blast. birddogit.com/TXAGS hunt. We're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Olin Buchanan, David Nuño. Not quickly, I'll take my time. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during events held throughout the year. Marquee events like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and Gathering welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. If your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner that's been the organization supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. So I was about to go a different direction in the last few minutes of the Go Hour, but I'm going to read this.
All right.
And I expect Mount Olin to erupt.
Okay.
All right? I expect to see gas out of your ears. James, I'm sure he's a very friendly fellow, and he goes, I'm 100% fine losing the next 4 and beating Texas. No!
See,
no!
That is such the loser's mentality. They put so much on Texas. Look, I wanted to see A&M beat Texas every time. Texas can't lose enough. I grew up a Texas fan. I'm no longer. But championships are even more important than beating Texas. If you can't acknowledge that, or if you don't understand that,
James, 7-5?
I mean, that's crazy.
When you have a chance to maybe be in the playoffs?
When Texas people say A&M fans are so preoccupied with us, and that's what they're talking about. They're talking about this guy.
By the way, Texas has that fan too, though.
Yeah, they do, but except
his name is Bill. His name is Fax Aggie Joke Guy, whatever. The guy who wants to fake box me.
But it's like I just can't understand that way of thinking, that beating this person or this team is more important to you than winning championships. This team actually has a good, realistic shot at winning a championship. You haven't won a conference championship since 1998.
No.
You've beaten Texas since then.
Yes.
This is bigger. Championships are bigger than beating Texas. It's a big deal to beat your rival, but you know what? It's secondary.
Dude, if you win
Why are you playing?
If you win a national championship but you lost to Texas on November 30th, I don't care. Okay, fine, you get scoreboard for 12 minutes. I'm going to enjoy the championship. Look, there's a lot that has to happen before Texas and hopefully after Texas, OB.
Yeah, you know what? If my Cowboys win the Super Bowl, I don't care if they lose to the Eagles.
We got to drop it there. Thank you, OB. And James, I'm sure you're a nice fellow. We'll come back with Jamie McCoy on TexAgs Live. Welcome back into TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. I'm here at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We are joined by Jamie McCoy, the former Aggie tight end, great, and of course NFL, and our good friend. Jamie, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Cool Zone. I wish I was that cool.
Hey, man, you gonna come hang out with us at the Cool Zone sometime?
Hey, I'm down whenever y'all want. Sean, I talked to Sean, and he wants me to come in and try to step in on one of them Tuesday meetings with Billy. So I'll be there soon enough.
Good, man.
Keep doing what we need to do.
All right, well, let's talk about it. So here we are. A&M gets LSU, and this game has been a good game, but it hasn't really meant anything for anyone in some time. This now it puts the winner in a really good spot to get to Atlanta with, of course, a lot of work still to be done. Your thoughts on how A&M has gotten here and setting up this matchup with LSU?
A&M has gotten here just by being resilient. I mean, nobody wants to start off the season with the 1 in the L column, but for us to be where we are now is just a testament to Coach Elko and the work that these boys have put in, not just Elko, but all the coaches. And I mean, to think that we'd be here in this spot with all of the SEC having had a loss besides us two, I can't say that I could have called that earlier in the season, but the fact that we're here now, I welcome it, and I know that this weekend is going to be an opportunity not only for the boys to go out there and show up, but for the home of the 12th man to show up, which I think we'll be out there in full force. I'm hearing things about blackout. I mean, I'm all for it. I think the energy is going to be electric, and I think our boys are ready to show what we're made of.
Talking to Jamie McCoy on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie, let's talk about what happened in Starkville, a place that has been very difficult for A&M to play. They come away with a victory. They did not play their A game. Just your takeaways from that game, and does it signify anything that we need to be paying attention to?
I don't think it's anything we need to be paying attention to. Again, like you said, it's always a rough place for us to go in and get a win. So a win is a win, and we're always happy to get one. But the thing I took away from it was, again, our resiliency. Under the last tenure with Jimbo, Mississippi State comes out there and scores that first touchdown. Granted, they went for 3 4th downs, which I think is unheard of, but that's the situation you're in when these lesser and inferior opponents need to get a W at any cost. But under the past regime, we would have given up that touchdown and came out there and just played to the level of the opponent, where I think we went out there, we answered on the scoring drive, which I think we've done every game this year, and we were able to fight back, take the lead. Could have stepped on their throat at times, but we kind of let them stay in it and linger. But the fact that we were able to get the job done, like you said, not throwing our best stuff, just goes to show how tough this team is, and that we're on a new scale. I think I know that this LSU team is also tough. They've done some great things as well. I think it's just going to be a clash of two Titans, and we're going to see who wants it more.
Jamie, one of the things that I think is very interesting is we expected this A&M team to get better as the season went on, right? Like, that's expected from a team that's coached well. But this team is going in this direction. I didn't expect LSU to kind of figure things out on the defensive side, yet it looks like, at least if you look at the numbers, yeah, I know you can point at some of the competition, some of the boneheaded decisions by Lane Kiffin a couple weeks back, but when you look at the numbers, what they did against Arkansas with a hurt Taylon Green, but regardless, they deserve credit for that. They've really turned their season around defensively, and they've won 6 straight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, credit to both teams to be going on an upward trajectory this late in the season is what you want. And when you're getting that from both teams, it's nothing more that you can ask for. I think the great thing about what the Aggies are doing is each position group is doing that as a whole. It's not like anybody is staying stagnant. The receivers are playing better. Different guys are getting open and different guys are making plays. Shout out to Barber. And Jade made some great catches. I couldn't believe that offensive pass interference they called. That was crazy. But our O-line is playing well. Our linebackers are playing better than they played in a long time. Granted, Edgerrin did his thing last year, but Scooby making the plays that he's making, the D-line staying up there doing what they're doing. It seems like we're hitting on all cylinders right now. And I hadn't necessarily got to dive in and just watch a whole LSU game. I'm busy watching Aggies and watching Texas go down. But for the most part, to see that they keep on winning, kudos to them. Now, I will say I did watch when they played South Carolina earlier this year, and the refs bailed them out of that game. So I know that they can be had. If you come in there with the right mentality, which I know we will, especially with us playing at home, I know that they can be had. And I'm interested to see if our O-line can enforce their will and get our running game going. And then on the defensive side, I want to see if we can heat him up and see if we can't get a few turnovers ourselves.
Jamie, I'm going to make this, I think, a simple question. You play tight end. So what do you think was my favorite play of the game Saturday? Yes.
I'm going to go with since you mentioned tight end, I'm going to go with that third down because at the time, I think we got a penalty to play before. It might have been the Ja'Day Walker catch that I'm talking about, where they put us in 3rd and long, and I'm sitting there thinking, dang, we got to settle for a field goal. And Trey makes that catch, jumps over the guy, gets us in the red zone. I mean, when we go to our tight ends, they're dependable. They catch the ball. I'm gonna go with that one for the play.
Yeah, that was my favorite play. Also because what it signified. I forget where they were, but I mean, you get 7 out of that drive now, right? As opposed to settling on punting or a field goal or whatever would have happened on 3rd down that didn't work out. And Connor, I believe, if I remember correctly, they almost got him, rolls out and makes that play. To me, it's just what it could have signified for Mississippi State. Instead, A&M is cooking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, credit to Mississippi State. They came out there and you could tell that the game plan was we are going to try to win this game at all costs, and that's what they did. They went for it on 4th down. The quarterback made some amazing plays, got out of there. Their receivers did a great job. Their running backs did a great job, but we were able to do what we needed to do. And shout out to Connor for he had some turnovers. He had some errant throws that could have been turnovers. But in some cases, that can you can see a quarterback just kind of spiral and go downhill and just hit. Everyone's calling for Marcel. But I love that he stayed patient and he still was able to finish the job and get it done. Like you said, not only that throw, but there were a lot of big throws that he did make. Even though there were some errant throws, there were some big throws that he made and some big catches made by the receivers that you don't get that without that resiliency I keep talking about.
I don't think there's one answer to this question, Jamie, but I just kind of want to talk to you philosophy-wise because I think it kind of depends on the situation, what's at stake, the game, because I know there has been games where Nick Saban has pulled one of his quarterbacks. But what do you think about pulling a quarterback in a game that's in the first half? And I'm talking about the Texas game with Georgia, but just in the big picture, if Connor struggles against Notre Dame, people are asking for Marcel immediately in that one as well. Just what's your philosophy with your quarterback when it's still a game to pull the starting quarterback who you've put all your resources and energy into what he's doing? If it's for a quick fix, like they did with Arch and trying to see if that would work. Do you have a philosophy? Do you think it kind of depends on the game itself?
For me, that's a great question. I hadn't really given it thought, but thinking about it now, for me, if I'm going to pull a guy, I'm ready to stand on that hill and go with the guy that I replace him with. Now, for the Texas case, it was going bad, but I don't think it was all on Quinn. I think Quinn kind of laid down and just took some of the sacks a few times. But I wouldn't necessarily put as bad as they were playing and as bad as it looked all on Quinn. But for them to go to Arch in that case, to me, I wouldn't necessarily do it that early just because I'm thinking, one, I'm going to my backup, and two, if I try to go back to my starter now, he's feeling a certain type of way. Like when Arch was called, his number was called to go into the game, I know Quinn is over there on the sideline thinking, man, if he goes out here and starts tearing it up, am I getting back in? Am I starting? Am I going to enter the draft? Do I transfer or whatever the case may be? All these questions start to come to your head. So me as a coach, I wouldn't pull that unless there was 2-3 interceptions and there were situations where either the quarterback looked like he was rattled or I had seen in practice, hey, this is the read, this is our progression. You're not going through that. You're just out here willy-nilly trying to make a play and you're putting the team in bad position. So really to answer the question, it all comes to the team first. If you're not doing what's putting the team in the best position, I got to go to the next guy and at least give him a chance to see if he can't give us a spark.
Jamie, I'm going to give you two questions that are kind of combined, but I got them in two different ways, okay? So last night, somebody sent me a message saying, hey, would you take 9-3 if it guaranteed beating Texas, but you're 9-3? Would you take it right now? I said, no. You got a chance to win a national championship. At this point, that's the information I have. Go for it. And then somebody on the YouTube chat, just 10 minutes before you got on here, said, I would take 4 straight losses if it meant beating Texas. So I pose those two scenarios for you. Would you take them?
I would not. I agree with you. Is this a guaranteed Texas loss? That's the one caveat I would ask. But for me, I wouldn't take it just because if we can go out here and win LSU, let's say we win all the rest of these games up until Texas. One, just like Texas lost to Georgia, that's not the end of the world. I think at 10-2, we would still be playoff bound. And then there's not a situation where I don't think that we could meet them again. And granted, we would want to take hold of us playing at Aggie land, but even at a neutral site, if we could get them again and got to see whatever was on tape that allowed us to get that loss in the first place, I think we could make the necessary corrections. So, no, I wouldn't take that. Tell them throw that back in the water.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there. Let's talk a little bit about the running game. Le'Veon didn't have the numbers that we're used to seeing from him, but I also think he was robbed of a bunch of yards. So, and then you look at what Amari Daniels has done all season long. I think sometimes he's forgotten, but every game it feels like he has a couple runs. You're like, oh, there he goes. And then you look at his numbers; they're really good as well.
Man, they are tough. They remind me of the Detroit Lions running backs. I mean, you got thunder and lightning. Amari always seems to come in and do what he needs to do. He's just steady. He's steady at the helm, and then Le'Veon is just that hammer that comes in, and you know how he's going to run. You know how he's coming, how he's giving it up. And yes, he absolutely was robbed. Some of those holding calls, I don't necessarily think the refs were just trying to keep them in the game. I think they just called some ticky-tack stuff that in SEC ball, that's not how you can officiate those games. You got to let these guys in the trenches do what you do in the trenches. You can't call stuff that's questionable, which I think those calls were. And I don't see any issues. I know that we're going to press along and run the ball. That's our MO, is in imposing our will. So I know how Le'Veon's going to be coming this Saturday. I know what the O-line is thinking. I know how Mike Elko wants this game to look. So running the ball absolutely is going to be vital and necessary for us. So I know it's coming. I think LSU knows it's coming. It's a matter of whose will is going to stop whose. And I like our chances, especially with the 12th man behind us.
Yeah, when you look at Garrett Nussmeier on film and you look at the A&M secondary and also the defensive line versus their offensive line, just talk about the pass attack that LSU is going to try to do. They don't run the ball very effectively this year. A&M has been solid on defense, if not elite, especially from the defensive line. Worried about the ability for Nussmeier to throw those deep bombs?
I worry about it in the aspect of a lot of our guys, kudos to them, they've made great plays, and they like Will Lee, for example. He calls himself the blanket, or they dubbed him that nickname, and he takes pride in going one-on-one with guys. The thing that I will give LSU credit, and I wish that we would do a little bit more of, is kind of NFL-like. When it's one-on-one and they know it's one-on-one, they will go downfield and throw the ball 40-plus yards, put it up in the air, and see if my athlete can out-athlete your athlete. So with that, I know it's coming. I know there's going to be situations where they dial that up, and I'm hoping that we can answer the call. Now, at the same time, you don't have a lot of time, especially with our defensive line, and especially with as creative as Bateman and Elko can be. I would love for them to try to go out there and make those decisions and make those risky plays to try to go up there, because I think we're going to put pressure on Nussmeier. Now, he's been great. He has a big arm. Like I said, he trusts his guys, and more power to him for trusting them. But I think that we can dial up some things and make him uncomfortable, a lot like we did the Missouri quarterback, where you're not sure which way the pressure is coming from. And we know that his guy is Lacey. So I like to disguise something where he thinks he has a solo coverage and he puts something up, and maybe Willie is covering the guy, and we have Bryce or gosh, I'm blanking on his name now. Number 3,
Marcus
I'm
Radcliffe.
blanking on it. Yeah. Maybe he comes in and gets an interception, but it's going to be a big game for our linebackers getting in there and putting some added pressure in it. If we can get there with 4 guys, then I love our chances even more. And I don't think that we can't get there with 4 guys. So the energy's going to be there. I can feel that. I know it's going to be electric, and I hope the guys can harness that energy.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on the Boss Firearms Hotline, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. Jamie, from the A&M wide receiver perspective, nobody's really asserted themselves as the alpha wide receiver 1. I would argue that Noah Thomas has, but it's not like every game he's leading the team in receptions and the huge yards. They've really been spread out. Do you think that's a good thing, or do you think they need to have an alpha guy?
I think somebody can step up and become the alpha this game. I think it's a good thing that we don't have one, because you don't necessarily know who to take away. And with you not knowing who to take away, there's no telling if it's going to be a tight end making big plays. Theo's been kind of hidden here lately. Trey made a big play. Who knows if these two are going to do it? Barber, Jade, we've got plenty of guys that are capable, and then we also have our LSU killer, number 7, who still has yet to do what I know that he's capable of. So worst case scenario, if somebody's not doing something right, we do have that secret weapon in there with the Moose. So I don't think it's a bad thing that nobody has stepped up, but I absolutely, just like this last game, Barber came out of nowhere for me. I knew he's a great talent and did his thing at Troy, but this past game was the first time he put it on tape and let it be known that he's a threat as well. So we've got the threats. We just need Connor to be on his game, not rattled. And if the O-line can give him some time and protection, I think anybody's capable and able to be the guy that stands up and does it for us this weekend.
Jamie, the overall vibe of the program right now, right? Considering where we've been the last few years and the fact that right now they control their destiny. A lot has to be done, but the man that signed up for the job seems to be up for it, and it's trending in that direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's good vibes all around. It's one thing when your team takes on the personality of the coach, and I think that's what we're seeing more so now than ever. We look like a blue-collar team. I mean, I hate to say it. My hand's been cramping. I don't know if that wrecking crew is coming back. But I like our mentality. We go out there. We don't get pushed around. We do the pushing. I just like where we're at, and if we can keep this steady, if we can get over this hurdle this weekend, I think the sky's the limit for this season.
Jamie, appreciate your time, buddy. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, David. Have a good one, man.
Giga, buddy. Jamie McCoy there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. When we come back, the other Jamie, it's Double Jamie Day. Jamie Morrison going to join us here to talk a little bit about Aggie volleyball. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. That is a company that makes documentary films about families, right? It's about many other variations of family business, family ranches, but just basically it's about your family. Whatever your family is into, he tells that story in a 2-hour documentary form. If your family has this weekly routine that they watch Aggie football from the house, and it's, you got your grandparents coming in, your cousins, whatever the story may be, let Chance tell that story. Maybe it's about tailgating. Maybe it's about your family ranch, how you guys got started. Maybe it's about how your dad met your mother and you want to tell that story. Chance McClain is the most creative guy I know, and he tells these awesome stories for your family to have a Netflix-style documentary. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. Again, that website, yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341 is Heritage Films. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio, hour number 2 of the program. Let's talk a little Aggie volleyball. We go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Jamie Morrison joining us now to talk all about the weekend. Jamie, how are you, sir? Not hearing him. Nick, is his volume off? We'll double check. Jamie, we'll check in with you here in a second. I think there's something up with the Zoom volume, so hopefully we'll be able to pull it back up. Jamie, you there?
Gotcha.
There you are.
If you can hear me.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, I'm back. I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing well. Feels weird not to be in studio, but thanks for making this happen.
Yeah, you got it. Let's talk a little bit about the weekend. Friday, Sunday, just kind of take us through the ups and the downs.
Yeah, Friday I didn't think we showed up as us, and I talk about that a lot of the things that kind of are inherent that are going to be a piece of our volleyball program for this group and any group going forward. And those didn't show up on Friday, and I was pretty disappointed. And we talked to the girls about that, and we talked about the response that we wanted to see. Then we came in the next day to practice a completely different volleyball team, and that showed up against Arkansas, and I couldn't be more proud of that. And
yeah, I do want to talk. Oh, sorry, I thought I lost you for a second. You there?
To what we do is the most important thing. So I was really proud of what happened on Sunday.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that response too, because to me, that's, as a head coach, what you need, what you want, right? Like, you're going to have bad days, but don't let one bad day become 2 bad days. Don't let it become 3 bad days. And you guys went to the office the next day and took care of business.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I told them before the match, I didn't care win or lose. I just cared about what we saw on the floor and how we played. And I'll be proud if we play our game and lose every single day. We can't control how another team plays. And I remember middle of the first set, and I think we lost that. We got back to playing as that team, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. This is awesome, and it's fun. It's beautiful to watch. I hope the fans enjoy it because I do a lot.
So Callie put this note in here for me. On Sunday in set 3, 6 points, the lowest total your team has held a team to all season long. Let's talk about just, seeing that performance, especially with what we had talked about happen on Friday.
Yeah, and our sport's one of you have to play well and you have to not give points to your opponent. And that's not just errors. That's just not making plays that you're supposed to make. And I think that set was the testament of that. We just made every single play that you're supposed to make. And we talk about a lot, that's draining. When another team has to, fight and grind for every single point and nothing's given away. And I thought that set was exactly that. And it again, that was a product of the middle of that first set. It kicked in and playing the volleyball that we're capable of playing. And I've told our team the entire time, we're, constantly pushing the envelope of what this program can be. And if we play like that, we can go really, really far later on in the year.
How difficult is that to not give away points? Obviously, there's the defensive element, but there's the unforced errors, like just the mindset to clean it up.
Yeah, again, there's 2 different pieces of this. We always talk about this thin line between being aggressive, which you have to be in our sport, and then knowing when to play it safe or knowing where that line is. And sometimes it's this sliding scale of I'm going up to take a swing and maybe I need to swing at 82% instead of 90. And I think we're finding that line really well to the point where we're making unforced errors. But again, it's the tips that they're trying to, put a ball short or something along those lines, or situations where they can't swing hard. And sometimes teams don't recognize those and those go down, and we just let 0 of those go down, which by far was the most impressive thing.
Talking to Jamie Morrison here on TexAgs Live. We talk about Logan every week. In fact, yesterday at the social center, her name came up. We're like, we talk about her every week, but 1,000 career kills. Let's talk about in what that means for a player's career in college volleyball and what it means for this team this year.
Yeah, I think I said it after the match. He's going to go down as one of the greatest Aggies that's ever played for Texas A&M volleyball, in my opinion. And I think it's a step along those ways in terms of cementing her legacy. It's a piece of it, but I've kept harping on it this year. The thing that I'm most impressed by is just her ability to manage. And I don't know if it was that swing. I'm trying to remember. It might have been, actually. I think it was off the high hands, and it was this nice deep swing into the back corner that skipped off. And it's a different swing than she had last year. And there were a couple of them last year, which probably would have gotten blocked on a couple of balls. And just her game is continuing to evolve, and she's really, really good. And her ability to push further is the thing that's going to make her great. And for me, that's the thing, again, that I'm most fired up on. And then there's just all around play, the ability to play defense, the ability to play through the back row. And she had a stab with one hand that she popped up on defense that she wasn't doing last year. So the crazy thing is she's not done yet. She has room to grow. She knows it. She's pushing into those areas, and I'm excited for what she's going to become.
Jamie, you guys played Texas, obviously, to open up SEC play this year. How much have you grown in that time? And then considering where Texas is right now, I mean, they've, 7-0 in conference, 9-game win streak, just a team that, you expect them to be great. They've been great, but you guys have also grown since that first matchup.
Yeah. We play like Sunday, we can beat everybody. I really wholeheartedly believe that. And the SEC, Texas is primed for a loss at some point. The SEC is craziness. It's bedlam this year. We're still in the mix to finish pretty high in the conference. And I mean, if we take Texas on Wednesday, then the possibility of even going to the top of the conference. But it's about us. And I said that before our match on Sunday. And then we went out and proved it. If we play that style of volleyball, that's unreal. Like, it's relentless. It's uncompromising in terms of giving up points. Like, we can definitely go out and play Texas on Wednesday and get out of there with a win.
You sent me an article from the Austin American-Statesman. Jared Elliott has his eyes on playing at the Moody Center next year. And obviously, we had the attendance record here. It's adding to the intrigue of this matchup.
Yeah. Immediately right after we set that record, there was we want to play a match in Moody, and I think it holds 13,000, maybe 14,000. And like I said, I've said it before, I think this rivalry is really, really good for the sport, and that'll amp it up a little bit. The fact that we hold the attendance record now, I think it ruffled some feathers down the road, and I think they want to reclaim that, but couldn't play this match in Moody. So at some point next year, they're probably going to try to play, a match against somebody else or play a match against us, try to reclaim that, and we're going to have to go back the next time we play them in Reed and fill the thing up with 13,300 to make sure that thing's a little bit higher and protect our home turf.
Yeah, and we're going to have to keep adding to it each year, keep adding to that number. So after Wednesday, more than midway through the SEC season, the season overall, there's still a lot to play and a lot to play for, obviously, but it is moving.
No, 100%. And we're on this cusp of, I think there's all these RPR futures that kind of say where we're going to end up. And right now it's like 20. And if we push a little bit further and get to the top 16, there's a chance of hosting. And there's all sorts of stuff on the line. And like I said, the SEC it's craziness. Like, every single night you have some sort of an upset happening where you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. And I didn't see that coming. And I've said it over and over and over again. Everyone keeps asking, what does that win mean? And I'm like, man, I'm just happy to take this SEC win, put it in our pocket, move on to the next one. It's a grind. And I think the last 8 matches are going to be a sprint to see who finishes this thing on top.
I want to read this because it made me chuckle for a minute. Sports fan on the YouTube page says, the top teams are physical. It's like football talking about volleyball. And then sports fan says, I can imagine Nuño doing his jiu-jitsu moves on someone because they blocked him in volleyball. I thought you would get a little chuckle out of that, Jamie.
Absolutely. I got to come by and see you do jiu-jitsu at some point. I don't know if I want to spar with you, but
no,
we got to make that happen.
Here's the reality of it. You're going to be like, dude, this guy's terrible. Like, he's been talking about he sucks. I could beat him with a piece of paper. Hey, how important is it to have Aggies in attendance in Austin for tomorrow?
It's huge. Our NCAA match last year, I think I come across in here, like, I talk about the short term and the long term. Short term, just we feel our fans, like, they're rowdy, they're vocal. Any arena that we're in, especially if it's going to be quiet, and this one's not, I'm guessing that match will be sold out. It means a lot to hear that behind us. And then again, in the long term, like, I got a little rowdy last time, between that and a bad way and in a fun way between our fans and their fans. And I'll keep saying it. I think this is one of the best rivalries in sport. I think it's a fun environment to be in. And the more we have our fans around their fans and that happening and that conflict and friction happening, I think it adds to the atmosphere of what this can be.
Jamie, I appreciate your time. You know what's coming up next. It's the hotline, but you won't be here for it. But hope to get you in studio here soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks for making this happen today.
Yeah, man. Good luck this week, and we'll talk to you very soon. Jamie Morrison there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. All right, you know it. Every time he's here, we do it. It's your car wash tradition with the friendliest staff. That is Aggieland Express Car Wash. 2 great locations. You got the South College Station one, where I started going to when I moved here to town, and you got the brand new location on Texas Avenue. They both have the washes that you need, right? But at the Texas Avenue location, they have the full-service wash, and they're going to take care of you. Their team takes care of all the cleaning, the drying, the vacuuming, the Armor interior,
under a completely covered patio. So if it's hot, it'll stay cool. If it's cold, hey, don't worry about it. If it's raining, they got you, right? If you want to try it out, it's a $40 value. We're going to give one away at 979-693-1150. The first caller is going to get themselves a brand new full-service car wash at the new location on Texas Avenue. That's a $40 value, 979-693-1150. It's Aggieland Express Car Wash. We are back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for the KBTX Roundtable.
Your
Tyler?
favorite time of the week.
It is. Yeah. I wish we could do quadruple segments.
Really?
But I'm cutting you guys
Do
to one
you?
segment.
Do you really?
I don't really know.
Oh.
I mean, I like when you're here. It's fun. Nicole, hello.
Good morning.
Tyler, hello.
Good morning.
Morgan, hello.
Hi.
Hey, how we... Wait a second. Wait a secend. Look at that. Look at that terrible acting by me.
Wow.
Look at that.
Blacked out.
We blacked out the studio, ladies and gentlemen. We even
impressive.
rehearsed it, and it turned out terrible.
We had no idea it was coming.
no.
Wow, look at that.
We should have worn our all black.
Just
We
in
should've.
case it is a blackout on the game on Saturday, we have a black studio. Are we going to do it for the whole week, Nick? Is that what the game plan is? Yes, we are going to do it. So we're just going to go blackout for the entire week here on TexAgs Live.
I like it.
Who went to Starkville? You went to Starkville.
Was there? Yep.
How was it?
It was
Starkville.
Because you didn't go, so.
I did not go. Some of us had to work here.
So we worked here.
we all worked.
How was it there? Not because it's Starkville, but just overall, because that is
Don't
a
mention the
place. The last time we were there was not kind to Texas A&M. So
No.
just, how was it?
Well, and I could see being in that environment why it would not be kind to Texas A&M, and even to an extent, I think it wasn't particularly kind to them this time either. But A&M, I think, was so much more prepared and talented. I will give it to, that Van Buren, their quarterback, very impressive. So it was a good environment. They definitely did not sell out. There were plenty of empty seats up top, but the cowbells make up for it. So,
Morgan, what was your takeaway from the game?
I was just thinking about me speaking. I don't think I took too much away from this game because I think it was a win that they should have gotten. And I'm not surprised that Mississippi State put up a little bit of a fight. I think they're a team that's getting better every single week. It's a home game for them. So I didn't take too much out of it. I think they just handled business and they won a game they should have won.
Yep. Nicole?
They came away with a win on the road in the SEC. That's hard, especially in Starkville.
2-0 on the road this year.
Too close.
Hang the banner.
Whoa. Why are you going to go there? I'm just saying, for a team that went 3 years without winning on the road,
They
right?
should hang the banner.
I don't know if the banner. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
And so I don't think they were going to go in there and blow out Mississippi State. They're coming off, the Bulldogs coming off almost. I don't think they would have beat Georgia, but hanging tough with Georgia. And I just feel like A&M got the win. They needed the win. Good, bad, ugly. A win's a win.
I will say, if A&M plays the way they did on this Saturday, I don't think that will. They're going to have to play better.
Okay, well then
LSU.
let me flip it. If LSU plays the way they played against South Carolina a couple weeks, and they won that game, by the way, or the way they played against Ole Miss, they'll lose at Kyle Field. Like there's two ways to look at it.
Right.
And while I agree with you, and I'm not trying to be
Ole Miss isn't Mississippi State though.
No, but Mississippi State played tough with Georgia, and that was at Athens as opposed to at Starkville.
Right.
I think my point is, I don't think you can look at one game and that translate the next game.
No.
Because the way A&M played against Arkansas, they would have probably lost to Missouri.
Yeah.
But they played against Missouri differently. And so I just think in this new SEC, you better bring your A game every week, and it doesn't matter if it's against Mississippi State or if it's against Georgia.
Yeah, it's wide open right now. And honestly, I think this game against LSU, the winner on Saturday, is going to be in the SEC championship game. I just kind of I know there's still a lot of season to be played, and there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of different teams, but it just feels that way, that who wins on Saturday has a really good chance of being in the championship game.
Morgan, if I would have told you that A&M controls their destiny to go to Atlanta at the end of October, would you have believed that?
No, I wouldn't have. I really wouldn't have. Especially, I thought this was going to be a 7-8 win team at the beginning of the season. I thought that would have been a great first season for Mike Elko. But if you would have told me that they're undefeated in SEC play to this point, no, I wouldn't have believed you.
What about you?
At the start of the season, I wouldn't have believed it. But now that we've seen things unfold, we're seeing what this SEC looks like. It's not the SEC of the past. Any team is...
It's harder.
Or teams are beatable.
Teams are beatable, which makes, I think,
as a whole, harder, right?
As
to
a
get
whole,
to Atlanta.
1 through 14
Can
maybe
beat
not
you.
Yeah.
Vandy, put some respect on
I mean,
Diego.
you don't go into the season thinking it's only going to be Alabama and Georgia because it's not those teams right now. So.
Well, I mean, Georgia is Georgia.
Right.
But Alabama certainly looks vulnerable. But I just think that, and I hate to have to qualify this because there's somebody who's watching who's a Texas fan right now or an LSU fan, and they're going to like quote tweet what we're talking about here, like A&M thinking if A&M doesn't win this game. But with the information available to us today, A&M is up top of the SEC, right? With a mega showdown, the biggest game that all of us have probably covered since the Alabama game. And that Alabama game, they had already had 2 losses at that point when they beat Alabama. Back-to-back losses, by the way. So this is the biggest game we've covered. Am I missing a game?
As far as implications for the whole season, I don't think there's a game bigger than this right now.
I think this is bigger because then when you go into the Alabama game with 2 losses, you already know you're out of the playoffs, right? And this year, with the 12-team playoffs and only 1 loss with the season ahead of you, you don't know what's going to happen.
You know what, though? You're 100% right. But the interesting part about the 21 season, they actually had a path to Atlanta when they beat Alabama.
Mathematically, yeah.
I mean, and it really would have come down to the last game of the season. If you remember, they had 2 losses entering the last 2 games of the year, which were Ole Miss and LSU. They gave away Ole Miss, but had they won that game, and I think they were robbed of the LSU game. Auburn was leading Alabama that night. Alabama ended up winning. Bryce Young was amazing, but there was a legitimate conversation piece. But you needed help this year. A&M doesn't need help, Nicole. They're like the help they need is they control their help.
Yeah, I think once they started with the loss to Notre Dame, we saw a lot of fans just like, season's over, they lost, how they lost, Connor Wigman not playing very well, the Connor Wigman that we have seen in games past, and now they're on a 5-game win streak, and they're at the top of the SEC. So, yeah, they control their destiny, but they have to control it, not coach speak, but like game by game, because each game is winnable, each game is losable.
Yep, I can't argue with that. Morgan, any thoughts on just this is a very winnable game at home, but it doesn't matter if it's LSU or if it's South Carolina on the road or Auburn on the road or Texas here in a few weeks or in a month. Like, you have to bring your A game every week.
I think you do, especially against this LSU team right now, because last week they looked fantastic against Arkansas. They had a really balanced offense with, Camden Duran rushing for over 100 yards, Kyron Lacey, CJ Daniels out wide. So I think both teams need to bring their A game because both of these defenses also look really great recently. So
I'm having a hard time with the LSU defense being so good. Yeah, I mean, they are. Like, statistically, but then when you look at what they did against Arkansas, well, again, I can look for reasons to be optimistic. Yeah. Taylor Green was hurt. Like, he did not play like the way we know Taylor Green can play. You got to give LSU props for stopping him. But I'm interested. And by the way, it brings up the Connor factor, right? The Connor that showed up last week against Mississippi State, is that good enough to win against LSU? I don't think so. The Connor that showed up against Missouri beats everybody on their schedule.
They can beat everybody on their schedule. Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier when I said, if they play like they did. Yeah, if Connor has that kind of performance, I don't think they beat LSU. But I mean, we've seen Connor, we've seen this offense capable of beating anyone on their schedule. And I think that we look at this last half of the schedule, and every game is winnable, but you can also see paths to where they can trip up in any of these games. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. But when you have Le'Veon Moss running the ball and you have Amari Daniels running the ball, it makes life easier, Morgan, for Connor. And, the way the offensive line is played, too.
Yeah, I think whoever will win on Saturday is the team that really gets the run game going against the front seven on both sides, because LSU did that against Arkansas. They didn't use their wideouts as much, but I think if A&M does it against LSU, opens that up a little bit. I mean, when you have Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels, it's not hard to get it going, but they need to get it going early.
What do you think about the way the defensive line has played? They get a lot of the accolades, not necessarily a bunch of sacks against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State didn't do anything in the second half.
Oh, they're playing awesome. I feel like this defense we're seeing it grow and get better each week. And you feel like you're seeing Scorton, and I feel like he's always penciled in, right? He's going to have a good game. But you're seeing Scooby, Regis, Torian York. Just you're seeing who had a quiet 12 tackles, right? Because, he led the team. But I feel like this defensive line is really holding their own, especially when Connor Wigman had his second pick in the fourth quarter. Bad field position, but they were able to, they're able to. I don't want to say like clean up the mistakes, but they're able to. The defense just goes right back out there.
And they did clean it up.
Elko said on Monday that was one of the big one-on-one kind of matchups you're looking at in this game is the tackles for LSU and the pass rushers for A&M. So this might be the best kind of line versus line play we've seen this year.
Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with another segment. It's the KBTX Roundtable here on TexAgs Live. Check out Varsity Grill House there on Highway 6 right across from the Academy. It's an awesome place to go. I had a meeting there on Wednesday of last week. Had a blast. But right now, these are some of the specials. 4 p.m. to close, in-house only. On Tuesdays, the Varsity Burger, Varsity Wings on Wednesday, chicken tenders on Thursday, Friday, fish and chips. Mondays is the chicken fried steak, and that pricing is $8.99 for the good old days, only there at the Varsity Grill House. I had some awesome ribeye tacos on Wednesday. You'll want to check it out. It's like a sports bar / cool environment, a place you can take your wife to eat, a place you can take your kids, your buddies. You'll want to check it out. Varsity Grill House, your home for good times and great food. We'll see you there. As a reminder, the final segment of the show is brought to you by Double Dave's, and that's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Before we go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, I am shocked. I'm appalled. I am dismayed.
I feel like all of our talks come during the break.
Yes. How do you guys not know what Jekyll and Hyde means? Like,
I didn't have to read it, so I was.
I never read it. I didn't read it. I've never read a book in my life.
That's a lie.
Okay, I lie. I read one recently, but I didn't read books growing up. That being said, like that is shocking.
I mean, it's like knowing what Romeo and Juliet is without reading, or you know.
But that's
Et tu, Brute? Sorry, Julius Caesar. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Are you more of a Jekyll or more of a Hyde?
But they know now.
I don't know what it is.
I think, Hyde?
Jekyll?
Which one's better?
Cooper Patterson,
Jekyll?
Tell people who the better one is.
Dr. Jekyll is the better one.
Is he, though? If he created Mr. Hyde? Is
it a Frankenstein thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
That's what I gathered from my research yesterday.
That's how I explained it to you.
So
I was
why
like,
are
I think it's like a
football
kind of like a
Frankenstein?
Frankenstein thing.
Because who are you going to be? Which personality?
Because he was describing FIU. Sam Houston's coach was describing FIU as Jekyll and Hyde because against Liberty they looked really good, and then against another team,
Casey Keeler.
Casey Keeler,
my boy, the Keeler.
Really?
Yeah, I've interviewed him many times.
Nice.
Coop, let's get into your question for the people.
Yeah, I want to ask, what are y'all's big three takeaways
Ooh,
for
who wants
this
to
game?
go
KBTX
first?
Big Three takeaways.
Can we have like a sound?
I just did it.
Oh, that's it. That's all we get.
That's what you get.
I'll go first.
We got a minute, by the
Can we
way.
do one each?
Big three. Oh, clock is ticking.
All right, Dr. Jekyll.
Jabri, number one.
What about him? He was great.
Big three.
Big three, yeah.
The defensive line. Sorry, I'm taking the entire line. So, and then big three, away from football, volleyball at Texas tomorrow.
Oh, that's a good one.
Ooh, basketball starts this week.
There you go. We were just going.
And then my Le'Veon Moss, it's his third game with multiple scores. I thank you.
I like that's a good one.
Yeah, we'll say even when the run game didn't get going, they still found a way to be effective.
Yeah.
They found another big three. I'm going to say the wide receivers as a whole. I mean, Jabri Barber, but we had some big plays from Trey Watson. And I know. I'm just saying you took the whole D line.
There's so much arguing going on.
I'm talking about the wide receiving core. And then if you want to learn more about Jekyll and Hyde, Arthur from PBS Kids is a great video out there. I sent you.
Apparently, it's not a bear.
A clip. It's an aardvark.
Jackal or Jekyll?
Arthur.
Anyway, thanks so much.
Arthur was never a bear.
To
Who
KBTX
thought he was
Roundtable.
a bear?
We'll be back in a few. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we find our friend Jordan Pugh, because we like to keep it real here on the program. Jordan, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Been good. I've been good. What's going on with you, man? How you doing?
I'm good. So you always have an interesting take on how things play out. What'd you think of this past weekend?
I mean, I thought, well, one, I'm glad that we got the win on the road. We know the troubles that we've had there. I thought that we played average. I thought that, we dealt with a lot of internal adversity, I guess is the best way to put it. You're coming off a bye week, big win, that kind of deal. But I just thought overall it was very flat performance from us. Now, the good part is we still played well enough to win. We still made the plays that were necessary to win. But I think that we can be better than what we put on display this past weekend. Now, you got to give credit to Mississippi State. They've gotten better each and every week, and I think they found a little rhythm in a stride. And I don't think that we were necessarily I don't want to say that we weren't prepared for that, because that wouldn't be a correct statement. I just think that it caught us a little bit off guard based off what they've done previously in the season. But overall, from our standard, I think that we were a little lackluster. I think we did enough to be able to control the game. But you can improve. You have those performances. You look at what we did earlier in the year, like with Bowling Green as an example. You have performances like that to pull from, but we can bounce back from that, man, especially heading into this game. I think it's something that you really learn from and build something off of that.
We're talking to Jordan Pugh, here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. The thing that you mentioned about Mississippi State, I think that's an important case when getting ready for A&M and LSU, because that's what's supposed to happen, guys, right? And it doesn't always happen. There are certain teams that go the other way, right? Maybe they have too soft of a schedule and they don't get punched in the mouth until they take on the top 5 team. Maybe they there's some issues in the locker room. But if a coach is doing his job, teams are supposed to get better. And I think that's an example of not only Mississippi State, but what we're seeing with Brian Kelly and LSU, and obviously Coach Elko and A&M.
I think that when you look at this game going in, I think that we're mirror images of each other. I really believe that at this point in time in the season, when you look at LSU, you look at A&M, kind of the same track record. You look at both opening season losses. You look at how the teams have improved. You look at teams that have elite talent on both sides of the ball. And I think that we're hitting each other and we're colliding at the right time, where both teams are kind of ascending and peaking. We both had our peaks and valleys. We both had our ups and downs. But most importantly, what you're seeing this week, I think you're going to see a coaching matchup. That's what I think you're going to see this week. I think you're going to see 2 elite guys, 2 elite coaches, 2 coaches that are familiar with each other, 2 coaches that have similar personnel groupings on the football field, man. And I really think you're going to understand and find out who is the best guy at creating the matchups for their players. Because I think this game is going to be the biggest test of the year. I think we're evenly matched across the board. I think that both teams, depending on how this game goes out, can accelerate and really launch the remainder of the season moving forward. I'm really interested to see the coaching matchup. You got an offensive guy in Kelly, you got a defensive guy in Elko. And I'm interested to see how they game plan each other, especially with them knowing each other well, working with each other before in the past. This is going to be interesting to see how they match up.
Talking to Jordan Pugh on the Boss Firearms Hotline. So when you look at the defense, is there a player that maybe stood out to you more than somebody else? Is there somebody all right, this guy, I'm seeing what he's doing on film, and maybe it's not statistics, but just from the way you're watching the film?
Scooby Williams.
Okay.
Hands down. I think Scooby Williams has been the MVP of the defense so far. I think he's the guy that nobody's talked about. You hear me rave about the defensive line all year long, and I'm going to stay on that train. But I think there's a guy who's going unsung, a guy who's not being noticed as much. I think it's Scooby Williams. He's played phenomenal all year. He's been great in space, man. He's been great in big moments, and he's also created turnovers, man, when they've been necessary within the game. I think he's played at a phenomenal level, a high tick level, and I think that even Elko talked about him in the press conference, talked about how, man, he's really starting to understand him as a player. I think he's an unsung hero of the defense, man. I think he's a key factor in our defense. I'm interested to see how this plays out this week with LSU. Nussmeier out there, the running game that they have with Durham. Durham being a local boy out here in Duncanville, so I know him pretty well. It's going to be interesting to see how that matchup plays out as well.
Jordan, this is probably a stupid question, but does anybody have an advantage when you've worked together? And it's been years that Elko and Coach Kelly worked together, but college football has evolved so much since 2018, right? 2017, 2018. Does Coach Kelly maybe know a little bit more because he's been with Coach Elko, or vice versa? Or at this point, everybody kind of knows a little bit about everybody. You're not really surprising anyone. Maybe schemes can affect the players. What's your thought on that?
I don't think there's an advantage. Well, that's a double-edged sword. There is an advantage that you know him, but there's also not an advantage in today's college football world. With so many guys transferring now, you don't really have a lot of cohesiveness. You kind of go based off of what the foundation of the team is. So let's call it offense with Kelly, defense with Elko. You kind of have a foundational piece of what Brian Kelly really wants to do. All right, he knows Elko's foundational piece of really what he really wants to do on defense. So now it comes down to players. It comes down to Jimmy and Joe's now. All right, so where do our matchups lie? And I think that's where each one of them have an idea, and they kind of have a feel of where they'll go and how they'll adjust within the game. That's going to be the key, and I think that's where you're going to see a difference. When you work with somebody, you know their tendencies. You kind of know how they think. You know how they operate. You know what they look like in chaos. You know what they look like when it's high, when it's low, when it's average. And now the adjustment part comes into play. Okay, so now that I got the sense of who they are, what they want to be, how can I adjust on site in real time? That's going to be the key. So I think, man, just from overall standpoint, yes, there is an advantage to working with somebody because you get to know their thought process. But also, when you spend time away, when you got new players cycling in every new year, man, it's all about on-site adjustments and being able to function in real time.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Jordan, when we think about something you just said right there about, watching film of teams and trying to get to know in this new transfer portal era, Coach Elko kind of spoke about that. Like when he's preparing for these games, he sometimes can't just look at what LSU's done this year. He's got to look at like 3 different films on 3 different players, what this player did at this stop, what they did at this stop, how they used them here. And you have coaching experience. Like, how difficult is that when you're trying to get your game plan?
It is very difficult because you're looking for any tendency you can find. Look, at the end of the day, offense is offense. Offense is going to run the football. They're going to throw the football. That's the only 2 things they can do, but you're looking for tendencies. Now with the transfer portal and guys transferring in and out, moving schools basically every single year, you're looking at players and what is that player phenomenal at? What is he good at? What is his bread and butter? That's what Elko is referring to when he's talking about watching the tapes, going to different schools, multiple different coaching staffs, trying to evaluate, okay, if he's the game changer, if he's the guy, if he's the one who makes the plays, at every single stop, he's done something extremely well in order to land him at LSU, for example. Okay, what is that thing and how do I defend against that? Vice versa when you're looking from an offense perspective, okay? So that's what he's talking about in that landscape, man, is being able to decipher from a player standpoint, what do they do well and how do we take away their strength and exploit that? That's the biggest thing that he's referring to.
Jordan, what about Connor, what you saw from him? He had some moments that were brilliant, and he obviously had those passes he wanted to have back. Concerned, part of, you got to give some props to Mississippi State for maybe confusing him a little bit. What was your takeaway from Connor?
I saw a guy that played a good game. I didn't see anything over the top. I just think a lot of people are coming off what they've seen recently, right? Coming off the Missouri game. You saw a guy that played a good game. It wasn't great by any means necessary, but he did make plays. Now, there were a couple plays and a couple balls that got away from him. You saw him think a little bit more. I think sometimes, man, bye weeks can do that. You get time off, you get time to relax, you get out of your routine a little bit. And him, especially coming off that injury, it kind of played a little factor, but he found his way out of that, right? There were certain plays, like I think there was a pick, I want to say 3rd quarter, if I'm not mistaken, 3rd or 4th quarter. They picked it off in our own area of the field. I want to say our -20. So that hurt us. That put us in a position, man, to be able to, to let Mississippi State find their way back into the game. It's those type of plays that we can't have. But he is the type of guy that can fight his way out of it, right? I just think that it was a good game. It was some bad moments within it, but it was nothing that was detrimental and that could have hurt us, that could have led to a loss.
What about the running game? The numbers weren't there. Obviously, a couple penalties took that back. Le'Veon still, it's the first game, I think, this year, maybe the Notre Dame game. I don't have the stats in front of me, but that he rushed for less than 4 yards per carry. That being said, he had a couple great runs that were taken back.
Yep. Our running game is the unsung hero. Our running game has been the one constant and consistent all year. We've built up every single week. Now, when you look at it, we had over 100 plus yards rushing, but you're looking at it from a team standpoint, right? From a rotational standpoint, and we're still getting what we need out of the rush game. The one thing that Le'Veon has done and Amari Daniels has done is they opened up more of the offense because if you notice, teams are having to load the box more against us. They understand that our threat in the running game is real. And now it's allowing us to have more plays downfield. Since Connor has come back, we have threatened more downfield in our vertical passing game. That's because of what our run established when he was out from the Florida game on. So even though the numbers may not look like it, you're seeing it be affected by how the defenses are playing us. Since they're playing us in heavier boxes, it's creating more one-on-one opportunities, which allowing us to threat the defenses downfield. So, man, he's being effective. He's doing his job. And, man, he's being an unsung hero on the offense with what's going on and how they're utilizing him in the run game.
What do you see from the safeties overall? When you look, and maybe just the defensive backs in general, but start with the safeties.
I thought that the safeties played their worst game by far this year. Overall, from a standpoint, there's a lot of missed tackles, a lot of guys that are out of position. You looked at Mississippi State. This is the first team that I really think threatened us in the pass game. But a lot of that, I think, were a lot of blown coverages and missed assignments and just guys that just weren't making typical plays and being in position from an overall perspective. From the full season, man, I thought that we played well in the secondary. You're going to have your moments, especially when you're playing a passing attack like Mississippi State, that's going to create opportunities for offenses to play in space one-on-one. Sometimes you're going to have games, man, where you're going to have some mishaps, some broken coverages, some miscommunications. So overall, this game was their worst one. Season-wise, man, they've been great. They've been good. They've been great in moments. I think that they've played well. But moving forward against the LSU team with a guy like Lacey on the outside, Nussmeier's getting his rhythm at the quarterback position, they're really going to have to stand up now. It's going to have to be a full effort on that defense, and they're going to have to come with it this Saturday.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Wide receivers overall, there seems like a different guy shows up each game. Jabri Barber was the most recent guy. Noah's had his games, I'll say plural. Cyrus Allen, you've had Ja'Day Walker. There's just a different guy kind of steps up, and they haven't had an alpha wide receiver or WR1, if you will. But I feel like Noah's been close to that. Overall, what do you think about the wide receiver group?
Well, the question you got to ask yourself is, do you need an alpha? When you look at how the offense is moving and how the offense is progressing, this is a full team effort, and we're balanced across the board. That's one of the things that you notice as the season has progressed is we've created more balance. One of the things that you asked me after the Missouri game was, what do we do moving forward with Connor? What is the concern now moving forward? And the biggest thing that I had when he was coming back was, how do we put him back into the offense? How do we integrate him, and how do we create a flow and a rhythm? There has to be some balance to this. And I think we found an identity in the run game. But now, since the Missouri game and now this Mississippi State game, you're starting to see the pass game develop. But the good thing is there's not one key guy that we have on offense that defenses can take away. What that tells me is that we're getting production from all areas in the receiving corps. That's what you want. You don't want, yes, you want an alpha, but you also want to be able to have 2 to 3 other guys who can create plays and create opportunities, because now that creates more one-on-one matchups. From a defensive perspective, I can't game plan necessarily against that. When the running game is going well and I have to load the box, now I have to tell my DBs, hey, I need you to hold up in one-on-one opportunities now. So now you're creating more and more options within the playbook, more and more flow and rhythm within the offense when you have an entire group doing their job. And that's what you want to see offensively.
When you look at Nuss on film and what you see LSU doing offensively, what kind of matchup is this for the A&M defense? Is this one that kind of concerns you with what he can do there at the quarterback spot and those wide receivers that they have? Or is this one that you think, and they have a really good offensive line too, Jordan?
Here's what I think. I think that I've been thinking about this one. This is a tricky one. I think that this is going to be our toughest matchup, okay? Because I think that we're mirror images of each other. But here's what I also think. I think we're going to get a similar result defensively with what we did against Missouri. When I look at Missouri, they have skilled receivers kind of like LSU does. When I look at Missouri, they have a quarterback and Nussmeier who likes to sit in the pocket. What do we have? We have an effective defensive line. We have a D-line that can create pressure, create chaos, which will open up opportunities in the pass defense for our secondary. When I look overall at the matchups, I think that our D-line is better than their O-line. I think that our D-line gets to showcase that they're better than their O-line on the national stage. I really think you get to see that. And I think from a matchup standpoint, I think that we can win those matchups. Now, here's the thing. I think that LSU's D-line is underrated. I think that LSU's D-line is going to create problems for us offensively. So now, if I'm Klein and I'm moving in to game planning, I'm trying to put this thing together for this week. How do we move the pocket? How do we get Connor on the move? And how do we create opportunities for our playmakers to get the ball in space and to get the ball quickly? The same way that Notre Dame played us week 1, I think is the same way that we need to play LSU this week. I think their D-line is very, very underrated. I think they have phenomenal players up front. And like I said before, I think this is going to be a coaching matchup more so than a physical player matchup. How do we create one-on-one opportunities, and how do we get our playmakers the ball in space?
Jordan, just considering where we are right now at this point of the season, considering that A&M has everything right in front of them, just your thoughts how it's played out and how it could still play out.
Well, I thought it's played out. I think that it's played out how everybody wants it to play out. Yes, we would like to be undefeated, but man, you're looking at 4-0 in the SEC. You're looking at a team getting better and better every week, and you're seeing a team not kill themselves like we did last year in the previous regime with Jimbo. And you're seeing the defense stand up, and you're seeing offense make plays and run the football when it matters the most. So looking at how the season is playing out, man, we are progressing, and we are on a trajectory, man, to get better and better every week. Now, this is the point in the season where now you have your fork in the road moment. I think that LSU is the most dangerous matchup moving forward, right? Now we get through this. How do we handle the rest of the season? Because we'll be favored moving forward. We will be the better overall team, but can we mentally lock in and finish the job? I know we brought this up earlier, man, how I talked about Texas, how I wasn't sold on Texas. And when you're looking at that matchup, man, and you're looking overall down the line, you're looking at each game moving forward, man, there is a true opportunity for us to take a stronghold over this SEC. And I think if we can get through this and we can continue to build, we can continue to find additional playmakers on offense, and we can continue to hold up our end of the bargain on defense, I think the sky's the limit for this group. The one thing that we have to do, and we have not done in the past, is we have not finished strong. We have been in this position before. Everybody can't act brand new and act like we haven't been in a position like this. The problem is we haven't finished it down the line. Can we hold strong, and can we continue to move forward and keep the standard the standard? That's going to be interesting to see as the season goes forward.
Before I let you go, do you remember a bigger game at Kyle Field in recent memory with bigger implications?
No, not right now. No.
Tennessee 2016, I think, is the one that keeps coming up. So, and that's, we're talking about eight years ago. But I mean, the 2020 season obviously had its challenges because of COVID, and But from that time, I think this is the biggest game with the biggest implications afterward. Because if you win, you are in the driver's seat.
Driver's seat, yes. Now that you break that down, I don't think there's been one, man, for a long time. Right? Everything that we've done, we've had early matchups, we've had that kind of thing. But when you talk about, man, with a lot on the line, with playoff matchups on the line, the only thing I can think of is maybe when we lost to Mississippi State. Mississippi State or Ole Miss at home a couple years back with Trevor Knight. I want to say it was the Trevor Knight year. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the closest I can get. But as far as now, looking at everything that we have ahead of us, looking at how the SEC is unfolding, looking at college football overall, it's wide open right now. There is a true opportunity, man, to take a chokehold on this. It's interesting, man. I'm excited about this one.
Hey, I was going to let you go, but I can't. I'm sorry, Lindsay and Andrew, hold on for a quick second. I didn't get your thoughts on what happened in Austin this weekend.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But I've been saying it all year. There's nothing about Texas that has impressed me. I think that Quinn Ewers is very average. I think Arch Manning is an average quarterback who happens to have good running ability. They're not physical up front, and Georgia exposed that. I think that from an athletic standpoint, they're great on the outside, but from the interior, I don't think that they're ready for the big dogs in the SEC yet. Right? So Georgia got exposed. They got to see Texas got exposed. They got to see what it really looks like in the SEC, something that A&M has been doing for the past decade or over a decade at this point. So, man, that's why I keep saying, looking at the rest of the season, look at how things play out. You go down the road moving forward. If we can handle this is the big one for us. This is the Super Bowl for us right now in the middle of the season. And we can handle that. The trajectory moving forward, man, it allows us to open up every single thing we want to accomplish this season, man. So we got to handle this one. But as far as Texas, it's not a surprise. They finally ran into a threat and who can match them athlete for athlete, and they got exposed.
Do you see another loss on their schedule before A&M?
Yes. They got to play Kentucky. You got to get through Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has hope and belief. Kentucky is the one. Kentucky's going to punch you in the mouth. Kentucky has always been a physical team, and they're like that little pesky little brother or sister that just won't leave you alone. And if you keep giving them hope, they'll find a way to win. That's the biggest matchup. The reason why I say Kentucky, you have a comp, Ole Miss. Ole Miss and Texas are the exact same football team in my eyes, and that's the comp. So I think there's a possibility for another loss heading into our matchup.
Jordan, I appreciate your time, buddy. Talk to you next week.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Breaking Tradition. Our movie, Texas Filmworks movie, comes out tomorrow, and we'll have all the details of that. We'll kind of get behind the scenes how it all was created from some folks from Texas Filmworks. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Or you can go on Highway 21. It's the place to get great deals, great people. And I guarantee you this, when you go there, you're going to be blown away by the customer service and the selection there. They have a decent selection of commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs, and they are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. They are awesome. They want to take care of you. They will take care of you. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. Also, you're going to get yourself free oil changes for the life of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Again, it's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes. The edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Breaking Tradition premieres October 23rd at Texas A&M's Rudder Theater, sponsored by the Association of Former Students, our good friends here. A movie made by Texas Filmworks. To talk all about it, Andrew Kilzer, who's a GM there at Texas Filmworks, EP on the show, or excuse me, on the movie, executive producer. Lindsay Caudle, your title's Director of Post-Production, and you're the Chief Editor, correct?
The film editor.
The film editor,
Yes.
there we go. So let's talk a little bit about it. Andrew, I know Gabe was heavily involved. Take us through how this became a reality and how cool it is to actually now be a couple days away from everybody being able to see it.
For sure. So the idea came about, one of the things Gabe was great at, among many things, was coming up with some really wild ideas to get kind of everybody involved and let everybody sort of like flex what they're really good at doing. And Gabe came to us and had this idea for a handful of films. And the first one that kind of rose to the top was the story of Hugh McElroy, scoring the touchdown against LSU, breaking down the racial barriers in that era of the United States and around here at Texas A&M. And so that really was kind of the genesis of the story. And what was great is that at the time, Clay Taylor and Donnie Hall were working as a part of Texas Filmworks. Those guys both stepped up to direct the film, and I think did a really phenomenal job. Clay put on 18 different hats as a part of the project. Yeah. He was the director. He did all the interviewing. He was the director of photography. He and Donnie also DP'd some of it, but really when those guys stepped in and we realized that, hey, Hugh's up for one, telling the story. There's a good story to be told here, and then sort of the cast of characters we were able to surround Hugh with. Was just really special, kind of in putting it together. So that's really kind of how it started over the COVID year, 2021, and then it was shot really over 21 and 22. So.
Lindsay, for you, do you come into it because an editor can make a story great or make it worse, right? Like, do you come in with and I'm not to put pressure on you, but do you come in with this vision of this is, or does it kind of play out? Like, what is your creative process when it comes to editing?
Yeah, so the cool thing about Clay and Donnie, their kind of vision for it was to kind of shoot these little vignettes. So each scene had like its own story. Oh. So then with the main interviews, you kind of weave it together. And that's my job. So their job is finding the story. My job is putting it together in an interesting way. And so that's kind of how it happens.
And did you find yourself, as you're putting it together, I mean, you knew the story, but now you got to know it intimately.
Right.
How was that?
No, it's really cool because I actually never got to meet Hugh during the process because y'all are filming. Yeah, I never made it to a shoot, but that's what you get being an editor, working behind the scenes. But it was really, it's a really cool story to be told, and I don't think a lot of people have heard it from his perspective.
And to Lindsay's credit, I think you spent like 600 hours.
No, it was actually 1,000.
1,000 hours.
Who's counting?
Lindsay literally was like locked in her office at home editing this thing for 1,000 hours. And
I looked it up. It's like equivalent to like a 2.5 months of a 12-day shift, nonstop.
So what you said is really true, David. And I just want to give Lindsay the credit that's due here. Without somebody like Lindsay really taking the time to understand the story, to understand what we had sort of in camera from the interviews and from the different shoots, without her really committing to doing that, like this thing never becomes what it could be. And really, it is a very beautiful story. But you're really right. Without an editor kind of pushing the story forward and finding those emotional notes, like it just can't become what it could be.
I want to talk about Hugh for a moment because anytime he's been on TexAgs Radio, TexAgs Live, you feel like you know him. He's such a likable guy, and every time I talk to him, I feel like, man, I just like being around him. How this film's going to take you on that journey with him, if either of you want to speak to this, but just getting to know him and his perspective and his fresh take on life, not just his own life, but the way he attacks life, Andrew.
Yeah, Hugh McElroy is one of those guys who I don't know that he's ever met a stranger. Mm-hmm. I think everybody in Aggie land that's ever met Hugh considers him one of their good friends, like literally from the first time you meet him. And Hugh and Deb are just kind of those people who you can't help but fall in love with. And one of the things I like most about Hugh is actually one of the things you start off the whole story with, Lindsay, is this quote where if you find a turtle on a fence post, you know he didn't get there by himself. And that's just really who he has been sort of in every interaction I've ever had with him. He's not the guy that's putting himself out there. He's not the guy that's like, look at me, look at these things I accomplished. And even in doing this film, which is the story of his life, his whole point in the story was there's all these people surrounding me that helped me get to this moment and help make this a reality.
And when you hear him talk about some of the racial barriers, like it was never like an obstacle, right? Like he just went forward.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that we talk about in the film that as we were kind of going through the editorial process and putting it together, there was this idea of like, well, can we include this? Is this stuff we should even talk about? But to Hugh's credit, he never wanted to dwell on those things or really like, it was never a moment of let's dig up all this dirt or speak negatively about anyone. It was really a matter of this is my life experience and this is kind of how I did that, but let's talk about the here and now.
And then how did he grow from it?
Yeah.
So
What were for both of you biggest challenges of making a movie of this magnitude?
challenge on my part was the time that was required to spend on it. As an editor, you hear the same thing over and over and over 1,000 times. So it was just trying to stay concentrated on getting the film told.
My biggest challenge in the whole thing is just sort of my biggest challenge on anything, which is trying to make sure the team that's working with me has what they need to do what they need to do and tell a really good story.
Right.
And then it's oftentimes my job to advocate for the team for more time or for more resources. And so, sometimes you're just kind of pushing for things to get as much as you can to make the film shine.
Mm-hmm. And Andrew, to close, what about the timing of it, right? Like LSU week, his biggest moment against LSU, and this just happened. Like this wasn't, it was perfect timing that was not like pre-planned, like the biggest game in A&M in the last few years. Oh, by the way, we have a huge movie coming out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I could say we planned it this way, but as Aggie football fans, we can plan things, and oftentimes it doesn't line up the way we want it to. But I think it's really fitting that this film is premiering for a public audience. The week A&M is, got a top 25 matchup against LSU for, who's going to be number one in the SEC at the end of the weekend. And the fact that Hugh is getting to have his story shown to a bigger audience is really exciting. And I hope that, it wouldn't be the worst thing to see that moment recreated when a guy like Hugh McElroy scored that touchdown.
Breaking tradition, Wednesday, October 23rd, will debut at Rudder Theater on A&M's campus, obviously. Embassy box office, student tickets are $5, regular tickets are $10. A bunch of us from TexAgs will be there. Go celebrate it with Hugh and Texas Filmworks and, of course, TexAgs. Lindsay and Andrew, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you very much. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Peter Byrne's going to join us. We'll talk a little bit about the LSU matchup. We'll talk a lot about it, not a little bit about it from the SEC Network. But right now we're talking about Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance. The cool thing about them, their headquarters is on Highway 6, small town feel, but they're all around the United States. But in Texas alone, they got 60 offices. As I mentioned, their headquarters on Highway 6, offices in Houston, Dallas, East Texas, Austin, San Antonio, West Texas. They'll take care of your car owner's insurance, your homeowner's insurance, farmer insurance, ranchers, hobby farmers, you name it. They want to take care of you. The phone number is 888-44-ROLLO. Go to RolloInsurance.com. That's 888-44-ROLLO, RolloInsurance.com. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. That's where we're going to find Peter Burns of the SEC Network and, of course, ESPN. Thanks to our friends at Blue Delta Jeans. PB, good morning, buddy. How you been?
Coming up this weekend in Kyle Field, my man, I'll tell you this as not the SEC Network anchor, but as an LSU fan, this was the game starting a couple weeks ago, especially when LSU beat Ole Miss, and I'm like, oh, buddy. I think there's more LSU fans that are worried about at A&M than they are at home against Alabama right now.
Peter, I'm so excited about this game for multiple reasons. We all know what's potentially at stake here, but let's talk a little bit about how maybe the perception of the two teams have changed over the last month, okay? Because, I don't know, that South Carolina game, the USC game to open up the year, there was a part of this season I was like, man, I don't think LSU is going to be very good this year. They may go 8-4. But what they've done the last few weeks against Ole Miss and Arkansas have completely changed the perception, the way they've gone about their business. Talk a little bit to that, LSU still has a lot to do this year, but how they've kind of changed the way, the trajectory of, at least the perception of it, I should say.
Yeah, I think the thing is that everybody couldn't wait for the start of the season and say it's USC, and then all of a sudden, for the fifth straight year, third under Brian Kelly, they weren't ready, to start the season. It was embarrassing, and they kind of wrote them off, and the defense didn't look good, and they were still trying to make Harold Perkins work. Harold Perkins was fantastic as a freshman, but then they started trying to make him a linebacker, and it didn't work. And I'll be honest with you, people didn't want to say it when I was down at LSU last week for the Ole Miss game or the week prior, but LSU's defense is better without Harold Perkins because everybody can play their natural role. Whenever they had Harold Perkins in that offense, or defense rather, they were trying to maneuver a bunch of players around just to try to showcase Harold Perkins or get him to learn a position, and that just really wasn't the right fit. So it is honestly been addition by subtraction because everybody plays their role. Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator who came over from Missouri, has those guys ready. And I'll be honest with you, the game against Arkansas worried a lot of LSU fans because Arkansas was coming off of a bye. Petrino has been ripping with his offense. Taylor Green was back. They could run the ball. LSU had been struggling up front, and they demolished them. It wasn't even close. And they did it without Garrett Nussmeier throwing for 4 touchdowns. This was a run-first, play good defense win for LSU on the road against a rested team. I hadn't seen that in years, frankly.
So do you think the defense is legit good or just kind of playing well right now with Ole Miss having some issues in that game, Taylor Green, yes, being back, but not seeming like the elusive Taylor Green we've seen in the past?
They're good. They're good. They're not great, right? They're not. I wouldn't even put them South Carolina's defense. I wouldn't put them, I'm sure, Georgia's defense. But they are good. And here's the deal. Good is good enough for LSU because how explosive that offense could be. And a lot of this was because of the passing attack that LSU had. But then that was a week in which, Arkansas had played some pretty good defense with Travis Williams, their defensive coordinator. And they were able to stop the run pretty good against some teams, and LSU was able to run on them. So LSU, the last 3 years, Brian Kelly, when you're cooking jambalaya, it doesn't look good at first, but you give it more and more time in that pot, and all of a sudden it starts sticking together and taste really good. That's what LSU is as a team every year that he's pretty much been there in Baton Rouge. They start off bad, and they get a little bit better, and that's where the coaching comes into play. And on the flip side of it, it's interesting because LSU fans haven't felt any better about the season than right now. And for A&M, I think they were a little surprised of seeing Connor struggle a little bit in that game and not being able to readily beat, I think, arguably maybe the 15th or 16th best team in the conference in Mississippi State.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen from A&M because a little different than LSU's path. They just kind of put their heads down and go about work. And I'm not saying Brian Kelly's group doesn't do that, but I feel like Brian Kelly's group has found their way recently. With A&M, it's like they just kind of run the ball, and when they get good quarterback play, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, it's workmanlike, right? It is like Mike Elko to a T. I think both of these teams kind of take on the personality of their coach, where Brian Kelly's like, listen, we're a CEO, we're an organization, we're gonna keep getting better. And I think for Elko, it's like, buddy, we're down here in the salt mines, and we're just going to work every single day and kind of bring it. I know I hate the cliche as a lunch pail, but that's exactly of the coach that I kind of thought Elko was, and I think it's playing that way. And you kind of nailed it. I mean, there's a fear amongst LSU fans of saying, like, listen, if this offensive line gel and Le'Veon continues to have success, it all depends on what quarterback shows up. I think LSU is aware that they feel confident that Garrett Nussmeier is going to bring them at a bare minimum a B to B minus game. I don't know if they think, I don't know if A&M fans right now believe that Connor Wigman, every time he's out there, is going to give them what the floor is. I think that's the question, is what's the floor for Connor in this game, and can LSU actually get to the quarterback pretty well?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the defensive line for A&M and the offensive line for LSU. That's the marquee matchup, right? Like the way those tackles have played for LSU, the way Scorton and the Bo Shamars and that whole defensive line, that's going to be like the thing that I think we all focus on, right?
Yeah, but I mean, guess what? I mean, so Ole Miss spent about $9 billion on their defensive line, and they didn't hardly even touch Garrett Nussmeier, in that game. I mean, like that was one of those ones where, yeah, I felt like it was LSU, frankly, that was able to get to the quarterback a little bit more than Ole Miss was, even though that they spent a lot of money on the defensive front. So, listen, LSU has no problems when it comes to pass blocking. Like, they have been not only above average, they have been flat out great. The issue has been run blocking, and I think that's the big difference, because LSU found something in his freshman Caden Durham that he just runs hard and runs through contact. It reminds me a little bit of Le'Veon. So these are two teams that are very similar, and I mean, it's a de facto. I think it's more important for LSU to win this game because they've still got some tough games on the schedule. This, to me, feels like a college football play-in game for A&M. You win this game, more than likely you're going to be 10-1 hosting a Texas team that looked overrated that we saw last week. So, I mean, even if you go 10-2, I think A&M, with the schedule that they have played early and the wins that they would have, especially if one of them is against LSU, I think they're a college football playoff squad.
Peter, while, yes, I've been saying that on the show this week, I just look at the SEC and I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, can you go on the road and beat Auburn? Yeah, you can. Can you go on the road and beat South Carolina? You should, but South Carolina's defense is salty. Like, I just look at all these matchups in the SEC and I'm like, I don't know what to predict from week to week.
Yeah, I don't either, but that's when Mike Elko earns money, right? And that's when you don't care about the highs and the lows. You run your mouth. You're just like, bro, we're going to go out there. We're going to go to work, and our work is going to be better than your work or your headlines or your hype. And I think some teams have been kind of caught up in that. The thing is like, who's the more consistent team? And I think both of these guys are kind of like a Spider-Man meme right now going, listen, we've seen them play really well. And when they do that, they're as good as anybody. I mean, A&M versus Missouri is one of those cases. So they all have, it's just a very similar deal. And that's why college football starts to look more and more because, like the NFL, because of the way the transfer portal works, to where week in and week out, you're just going to have great football games, and you see their television ratings that are showing that.
Peter, I know you already mentioned that Texas seemed to be a little bit overrated. What did you think about that matchup and what it could signify moving forward for those top spots in the SEC?
Well, I think I took more out of it about with Georgia going, if you don't have any type of mobile quarterback, you're not going to stand a chance against Kirby. And, I mean, you go back and look, the only two losses that he's had in, like, the last 60 games, basically like 4 years, were against mobile quarterbacks. And if you're just going to be a pocket passer, not be able to move the pocket, Georgia's defense is too suffocating, and they'll game plan and show you different looks. So that, to me, is kind of what I learned about it. I mean, they threw 3 interceptions, and they still went into Texas and beat them by 2 touchdowns, and it could have been worse. So, I mean, to me, Georgia's still the team to beat. And for Texas, I put them right there with an A&M. I put them right there with an LSU, with the Tennessee, even with an Alabama. Like, above average teams, if you caught them on a good day, they're really good. But, man, they also still have flaws. And I think everybody has flaws in college football. That's why this thing's so wide-ass open right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I want to talk about Vandy for a moment. Yes, I know they have the matchup with Texas. And I think, everybody in College Station, I think around the country would be rooting for Vandy just because their story is not just about Texas, but just their story is so cool. What do you think about Vandy and what they've been able to do with Diego and of course, Clark Lee, who's such a good game planner?
Well, they know who they are, right? I mean, in the transfer portal, we think of players, but think about the transfer portal for them. They went into the transfer portal and not only got Diego Pavia from New Mexico State, they got his offensive coordinator and his former coach. So it's like, all right, we're bringing a whole package over, which I think is interesting. And so they're just brutally efficient. They don't try to trick you. They just basically say, we're going to run a little bit of a quirky offense, but they run it really efficient. And I can say this without a doubt. The two most, trusted quarterbacks who run their offense the best right now in the SEC are Garrett Nussmeier and Diego Pavia. Both of those guys know what their offense is. They know how to run it, and they haven't had any kind of just bland, horrifically bad game. And I think that's why Vanderbilt is in a great spot. I don't know if they upset Texas. I still think that's a bridge too far, but I'm going to learn a lot about Sark's squad about, hey, how do you get thumped like that at home and then try to go on the road and reevaluate? Because SEC life is a little bit different, man. And now Vandy is ranked. That's a fun team.
Burns, great stuff, man. Thanks so much for your time, buddy.
See you, bud.
See you, man. Peter Burns there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Thank you for his time. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back and look at the Little Sluggers text line there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center right now. Ground shuttle time. They offer reliable shuttles from Bryan College Station to George Bush Intercontinental Airport. It is the way to go, especially if you're a business traveler. You're trying to get out of town and you're like, I don't want to look for parking. I don't want to walk. I don't want to have to pay for all the day. Just let Ground Shuttle do the driving for you. You got a kid in college at A&M and they need to come home for a weekend or for the holidays. Let Ground Shuttle take them to Bush and do all the driving for you. They also offer charter services. You can book any vehicle in their fleet. They go in town, out of town, anywhere in Texas. Private luxury car service. Ground Shuttle is a local company and they don't book anything that they cannot guarantee. You should check out the website, groundshuttle.com, or call them up, 855-303-4415. Again, that is 855-303-4415. Or go to groundshuttle.com. Ground Shuttle, let them do the driving. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate our good friends there at David Gardner's Jewelers. When you're looking to get engaged, you need some jewelry, that's the place to go to. Little Slugger's text line been popping, I assume. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Cooper Patterson, who made his debut on the program today. Coop, you got a smile on your face today. You having fun?
Yeah, having a lot of fun.
Do people call you Coop or just always Cooper?
Yeah, Coop.
Coop?
Get Coop from my dad. Get Coop from, honestly, a lot of people.
Yep. You had a question for me, right?
Yeah, I want to go back to people asking you if you'd accept 9 and 3.
Sure.
Guaranteed. JT from Dallas, he says, I agree on bigger goals, but I'll concede. If someone offered me a guarantee of 10 and 2, I'd take it. I assume that'd be a split between LSU/Texas. So you wouldn't take 9 and 3, but would you take 10 and 2?
I want 11 and 1, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, first off, this is impossible. There's no person like I sometimes I become too much of a realist to have fun with questions. It's never going to be an option, right? God's got too much stuff on his plate to come to me and say, David, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to make this deal for you, right? This is what no. 10 and 2 sounds great, all right? But I kind of like letting this story play out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't have so much optimism on what could happen, I may be okay with settling. I don't want to settle right now. I'm enjoying the journey. I want to take the ride, and let's go. And maybe that backfires and they go 8 and 4. Maybe it doesn't and they go 11 and 1 and go to the playoffs and have a nice run. We don't know, but I like the journey. Thank you, Coop. Appreciate you. It's going to do it for TexAgs Live here on a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the show, it's going to be good. You know why? Because I have a good guest. I don't know who they are, but I think John Harris is on the show. We'll see you then.